Hi everyone, welcome to this Indian football transfer special. This is Sports Kabari with Arun Foot. We're here to bring to you some of the latest updates with regards to Indian football transfers. Sandeep's here, Shayan's here, Ranava, of course. It's really exciting for me because in the seasons past, I've had friends who only talk about European football and things surrounding European football, and I've never gotten the chance to really talk about Indian football transfer. So it's really interesting for me to be a part of this discussion. Thank you so much, guys. There are some really interesting things that are going on behind the scenes. We'll get to them soon, but yeah, I just want to thank you guys for making me a part of this, and I'm I'm looking forward to discussing everything Indian football with you guys. Arnava.
Yes, me too. I did a little questioning on Sunday regarding should we do something like this on the Candid Football Conversations, and it was inundated, so to say the least, and a lot of people were showing an interest. So we thought, listen, why not? And I asked Sandeep Menon, thanks for joining, Sandeep, and also Shan Sharkar to come and join in and be part of this first transfer update sort of discussion round. Starting off, guys, amongst all of us, which is, so to say, the transfer saga that we are all mostly looking forward to over the coming weeks to get fulfilled. Sandeep, if you want to start.
Yeah, I am personally am not a big fan of all the ruckus that goes around because a lot of lies and conjunctions and stuff like that goes around. So I am not really a fan of that. But at the same time, it gives you a chance to see what the clubs are thinking, which direction they want to go, what sort of season, who is putting in more effort, who is maybe early on you look and say maybe moves not great. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And this year, I think a lot of the teams are rebuilding. So it'll be exciting to see what sort of players they get, what sort of coaches, and how that all meshes together. So I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So we'll touch on them as and when it comes. But yeah, very exciting times.
Exactly. Shan, anyone which sticks out to you?
Till now, I'll echo with Sandeep. Actually, many things are there which we should discuss, and sometimes we also speculate, and we have some our observation, and we discuss on that. But this is something which is very interesting, and what Sandeep said, I agree with him that all more or less many of the teams are currently on the rebuilding phase, especially the Kolkata club, East Bengal. If you see Northeast, then Jamshedpur, they are all in the rebuilding phase, and in eastern part of India, all the clubs are Orissa also. If you can say Orissa also. So this season, I think it will be very interesting, and I hope that Indian football will go to the next level, which is needed for us to progress. So that's my point of view.
Rahul, anything from your side? What you've seen so far excited you?
Yeah, I think I just want to like again. Let's. I started off. Something that really interested me and intrigued me was the contract extensions that BFC has handed out to players like Suresh and Gurpreet. Their long contracts and again, like something that I've not seen typically so far. I've not heard of also, and it was really. It filled me with a lot of confidence because that means that the club has faith in these young guys, and they're going to be a couple of players who are going to stay for the long run. And apart from that, I remember Sandeep when we were talking about BFC when we did our first podcast, we spoke about Suresh and Rohit and in that midfield, and they've given Rohit also a contract extension till 2025. So these two guys, Suresh and Rohit, being in that midfield, I think was integral for BFC, and I'm really glad to see that they're going with an all-Indian midfield, especially in those defensive roles.
Interesting to see. Is Suresh Wangjam, then the player that BFC will build the team around? Sunil most probably will enter his final season as a player. Is that something that we sort of will see that transition? We've seen it also now at BFC, say certain changes in the management. We'll talk about those things as well. That sort of there is sort of that change happening, which has happened sort of on the field over the last 2-3 years, where we see now sort of has the turnaround worked under Simon Grayson, and then now the next steps are being taken for that. Sandeep?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, I think Sunil's contract is coming to an end this year. I'm sure he'll sign one more year. He wants to play the Asian Cup. I think it's a nice ring to have 11 years for number 11. And you can sign off on a high. And yes, I do think now they have to look at the succession plan. the entire club was built around Sunil in terms of, as a marketing person, the face of the club. So now they have Gurpreet, and they've put a lot of faith in Suresh as well. And Suresh is, I think he is a future captain for BFC at some point, because he, only because of the fact that coaches all love him, because whatever you tell him, he's going to do the exact, follow that direction. Like you saw it right from the beginning when Carles gave him his debut. I think he man marked Delhi's winger, that Marcelino,
Marcelino, yeah.
and he made a mistake. I think he ended up costing them, like conceding a penalty, but still he was following him everywhere, sort of nullified a lot of issues. So he is that guy that a lot of coaches put their faith in, whether it's Marco or whether it's Simon last year. So I think he is going to be a big player for them. They've already started. If you look at the social media posts, they've already started to market him, and I know there is a attempt from the club to make sure that he has all the tools needed to be that face also, because he's reading a lot now. He's trying to do more interviews. He's coming across as more confident and comfortable in front of camera. So as long as he manages his performances on the field, I think he is a future captain. And Gurpreet, obviously, I think they gave him a 5-year deal for the first time around. I think they've just done it again, holding on to two key positions over there. But now they're rebuilding the entire squad. A lot of the, Prabir Das is gone. I think that foreign contingent is out except for Javi. So they have to now rebuild. And I think they will rebuild very strong this year. Because if we are looking at this as Sunil's final season, they'll really, really want to go on a high. And after last season, reaching three finals and then still only winning one trophy, I think they would want to, sort of push on. So it's a big season for BFC, I think. I think they've signed Narzari and Rohit Danu, from what I understand. They're not announced. And Jessel as well. Not sure about Jessel. I don't think he's an upgrade on what they had. But the other, if Narzari can get the tune out of him, then he could be a player. And Rohit Danu, number 9, I doubt it, but we'll see what
Winger
happens.
Rohit Dano again. I think I felt I remember I saw him as a 15-year-old the first time. I felt that he's a better winger than being used as a central number 9, and that's an interesting addition to BFC, because there's been, I also feel, a big move away from BFC. Someone we've only seen at senior level in a BFC shirt, Udanta leaving Bangalore and going to Goa. What is
I think it's
that
about
sort
time,
of
no?
thing? Do you think it's important for him to move?
Yeah, I think it's about time. Because since 2019 mid, he was not really first choice. He was not the Udanta fold. I think it also, I mean, this is speculation, right? He might also be a little really comfortable there. He's been there 9 years. Mostly he started. And I think fresh start in Goa, who's starting their own new project, might be, I think it'll do a lot of good for him. Especially with, Shiv Shakti coming up. He's going to take up one Indian spot. So I don't want him to be moved to the wing, but I don't know what the plans are with another. Maybe they'll play two up top, or how Roy Krishna played this year. We'll see, but I think it's a good move for him. I think he had to sort of refresh his career. I think we'll see also whether he can reclaim that old spark that he had.
One of the big transfers I felt of the summer, not on the field but off the field, Manolo Marquez going to FC Goa. FC Goa having being one of the few clubs in the ISL who have a style of football, a style of play, and they've had it since day one, since Zico was the coach in 2014. And if you see the signings, they've made some interesting signings. Again, Udanta is one of them. Sandesh Jingan is joining them from BFC as well. Some other players they're trying to sign or have already put on their books, they'll be announcing in the coming days. Will Goa get back into the playoffs under Manolo Marquez, who now, of course, has potentially better players than what he had in Hyderabad? Shan, Rahul?
If you ask me, if I Rahul, if I can say this, Manolo Marquez, if you see his pedigree as a coach in India, if I say his stint in India with Hyderabad has been phenomenal, and with a limited budget, the result he has given to Hyderabad FC, it's a lesson to be learned. Actually, he has done a phenomenal job nurturing talents. If you see the present Listen Kulaso of Mohun Bagan Super Giants or Mohammad Yasser, Akash Mishra, players who came up from that flag. Right now, Hyderabad is reaping the benefits of those the players who have been groomed under him. In fact, Sana was also part of that process when he took over. So Manolo coming to Goa, I think it's a very very positive move. And if you see the current team building phase of Goa, they have already got in Sundays. And if you see, as you said, Ivan Dolling, I think he's again staying back with them. So it's a very good thing. There was some rumors that he may move to Kerala, which didn't happen. And the present in Goa, which what I personally think is that he's bringing in a good balance of youth and experience in his team. I think that would be a very very interesting combination. With what I feel of Manolo, and he's a pretty honest and a very straight guy, and what I've come across of him, and I'm really excited to see. I'm quite sure that Goa would be one of the top 4 5 teams in this the league in this year's league. I'm quite sure about it because the way Manolo, if you see Manolo's performance when he came and in the first season, it took some time, but after that, the team went to another level. And with a limited budget, it's very very tough to do. And what he has done, and he earns a huge respect from my side.
I don't know why there's a lot of questions actually flooding in, so we'll
Yeah,
just take
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Can I just add something about Goa before we shift
Please,
on?
please,
Because
please,
Yeah,
please,
yeah.
Sandeep, you.
I think this year is a massive year for Goa because last 2 years obviously they didn't do that well. Last year actually they should have qualified, but I think they sort of snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory. You say, right? That's essentially what happened. Gave chance for Odisha by not
Mm.
finishing it off, and they had this one route one football to hit the what was that Moroccan's name? Now Noah
No,
Sadoui,
Noah
and
Sadui.
yeah,
no,
depended on him so much. It didn't work. Now they have got the best coach, or arguably one of the best coaches in ISL in their team. They have bought in players, or rather, who are going to be announced, two midfielders. Sandesh, now it's out there. All in their prime, or experienced players who are there to win now. You can add Ayush Chitri to it, and you can add few wingers, Boris or whoever it may be. Udanta also experienced. They have bought people to win now. And if they don't win now, then this is a massive roll of the dice, right? Everything is built up for them. Maybe this year or next year they have to win the title. They have won the Shield. They have come very close to the title in the last, I don't know how many, since 2018, 2019. So they have to do it this year. And we always talk about Goa as this team who's trying to not get into this whole paying through their teeth and over the top and having sort of a financial structure around the team. This time, I think they might be pushing the boat a little bit further to ensure that they get over that line. And if they can't, it's going to be a big disappointment because I think they have a team to win now. Every time we said, "Oh, Princeton, 3 years later he'll be good," or then you had Liston, oh, okay, he left, and Yasir, oh, okay, he left. So they have to win now, and they have the players to win now. 3 years down the line, I don't think the big signings here will be the same.
Would any of you have tried to keep Edu Badia, or is it a new age FC Goa and Edu Badia's time in Indian football as the longest serving foreigner is done?
I think it's done. He had slowed down, right, last year,
Yeah.
last year slowed down, right?
but great servant to that club.
No.
No denying that.
Remembering that, I remember he came as a youngster to 1860 Munich with a bunch of players from Barcelona B and made a complete mess and enjoyed Munich nightlife. And then, 1860 really packed him off. And he had troubles early on in his career in Spain, and thereafter what he's done in India, exceptional. So FC Goa, a team to look forward to. Manolo Marquez himself under a different kind of pressure, do you guys think, this time around? Because Hyderabad, I think little was expected. Varun gave him a very clean hand, had a good backup in Tangboy Singto in the background, who of course helped also with a lot of young talented Indians. Is there, Sandeep, you're expecting a lot from them. Is there a different kind of pressure on him then as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he took a team that was unheralded to the title, right? So you have to give him a lot of credit for what he has done, the players that he's developed. Now he is at a team which is known to develop players, at least in the space of ISL, right? Of course, you can't compare it to the Aizols and Shillongs of the world, but for ISL level, they have developed players and they have bought in some good players. And he has a free hand over there. And he spoke very eloquently a couple of days ago in the first interview saying, I want to work with youngsters. I want to help them build. That is what he wants to do. This is the club for you to do it. And at the same time, can you win it? Sandesh Zingan is a little bit of a confusing signing for me because he wants the style of football, passing centre back. Sandesh can pass, but I don't know if
I,
he's
I
that
I wanted to
comfortable.
come to that question because I feel is would it have been not better to try and again, of course, Mohun Bagan is putting a lot of money for Anwar Ali out there
Yeah,
to sign him. Would have been smarter to try and keep Anwar Ali with because thinking about the style that a Manolo wants to play and Sandesh Jingan is not that kind of player to play that style. He was more suitable to that old-fashioned, sorry Simon Grayson, but I felt a little old-fashioned BFC way of playing football than rather that Manolo Marcus way of trying to control, play the ball. Your centre backs are very important. He's not a Sana Singh, right? So is that a could that be an interesting
I know they
situation?
tried. I know
Yeah,
Goa tried to hold him, but the money that is being thrown around for Anwar Ali, I don't think they can hold him. So they had to, and from what I understand, they had to get a good Indian centre back in, and the one on the market was him. I think there was probably some discussion to get Sumit Rathi, but I don't know. ATK Mohan Bagan Super Giants. They seem to be really interested in just keeping him on ice. I don't know why. That fellow needs to play at a good season. After that, he's hardly played. So if they had managed to get him, that would have been the best signing. But I think they made the best of the situation. But at the same time, we have seen before with Adil Khan when he was in the national team, he was the captain of Hyderabad, and he was not suiting the style that Manolo wanted to play. He was benched. So we have to look at and Manolo. From everything I've heard, does not care about reputation. It does
yeah.
not care what anybody says. He wants to do what he wants to do. So I think it's going to be a very interesting situation there.
Chan?
Uh, I'll if I see the first part of your question where you say that this time Manolo will be more of pressure because if you see in Hyderabad there was at least there was no pressure. What he said also, I think day before yesterday in a press conference that he was very upset that team didn't got the support he he would actually wanted that. So there were cricket issues, things went many things where fans didn't turn up for the matches. But over in Goa, what he will feel was he will have some players who have done pretty well in the national team setup. Like Brandon is there in the team. Then you have got player. The club has a reputation of doing good. It has a steady fan culture. At least this year, attendance of FC Goa was stagnant around 13, 14, 15,000, which has been always been they have been the most consistent in the attendance wise. So they have a fan who will back this team, and Manolo would be in a sort of pressure, but I think he's too good to handle this because I think he will have the resources. Inclusive of Sandesh Jingan. The second part, if you ask me, see, Sunday's deal I think was happened I think before Anwar Ali left. I think in the January or the February month when this happened, Anwar Ali was shifting to uh, Mohun Bagan Super Gen right now, and I think that time in the setup, FC Goa setup, I think Manolo was not there. So the process of his way of thinking would not have been taken into count that way. So that may be a reason. But I think knowing Sandesh and the fighter he is, I think he would. I understand he has some deficiency. What Sandeep was saying that the passing part and all, but he's a fighter, and I think he would definitely. For me, he will definitely find a place in the starting 11 of FC Goa.
And
Like
I'm
I have to
interested to
say this,
see.
okay.
I,
Uh,
I
Huh?
I fear for Sandesh, to be very honest. And I feel there might be someone in the FC Goa developmental side, one of those younger boys. There's a couple of them. I forgot their names. There's a Goan boy, and there's a I think it's a Mizo who've been playing. If I'm right, who might get a look in. I think those might be the kind of players he might look in. And I said Manolo had banked on players. Hitesh Sharma, for example, was one of those he used in central midfield who after his time at ATK, I think very few people would have considered as someone to give a chance. So therefore, let's see. Again, Sandesh Jingan is a different kind of player than Adil, but Adil, Sandeep was very right. Adil was one of those who sort of faltered and of course was last playing at in Mumbai for Stephen Dias and uh, what is it? Atlanta Ambujanath. Whatever Atlanta
Amarnath?
FC,
Ambarnath?
Ambernath
Yeah.
United Atlanta FC. Yeah, that's the full name. Sorry, some of the names nowadays are very confusing as well. But people have been
Sandesh had
asking.
the
Yeah,
Sandesh had a phenomenal second half of the season last year.
Yes.
I think one of the best. I am not a like the biggest Sandesh fan, but even I have to admit that he played a major role in BFC's turnaround last season. So that part of the game, I think he will be fine. I'm so as long as he can figure out this the passing part of it, I think he will be a good signing in terms of a leadership point of view, because I also heard that last year, because where he is, he's matured from what he used to be. He has been acting a lot more as a leader, and he has been a big presence in the dressing room. So those part I think will benefit Goa, who has quite a bit of young players, like the Xavier Gamas and the rest of them, who we thought a lot in the first year and not really kicked on. So hopefully he can sort of help them out.
And that's I think the challenge, right? That's the huge challenge. Consistency of players. You mentioned Savagama. You suddenly see someone else. Ibang Doling did well. Not to forget Seriton Fernandez on that right wing, a player who's been playing quite a lot, but due to injuries and other reasons, really has never got a look into the national team. So FC Goa looks a very interesting side. Rahul, you wanted to take some questions, or should we move on to other teams, other clubs, and see where they stand at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know, but this leads us on to a different club, and a club that is probably not on the same tangent as a club like FC Goa. We're talking about Chennai and FC. Raj asks us, what are they thinking? There's no coach update till now. Thapa could be going. He still has a year left on his contract, but he could be leaving. Akash Sangwan, Vinci Barreto, Rahim Ali possibly leaving. Worst days for CFC fans. Anybody wants to take up any updates with regards to Chennai and FC and what they could possibly be planning for the season ahead?
So first thing I think to confirm is Thomas Brdaric will not be continuing. That's what I've understood. I've not met him so far. Wanted to have a conversation with him. Might do it for Candid Football conversations with him hopefully soon. So therefore, what I'm hearing, they want to go British in the next season. They've tried someone with the Balkans, which didn't work. I thought Thomas was a good coach. I think the whole El Kayati situation sort of knocked a little bit of that out. It was a sort of a similar thing what happened with Rafael Crivellaro, that you've got a class playmaker, but that player just does not give you enough matches to see you through. I think that has been their biggest problem. And yes, their star players. Again, I think for a team which is twice ISL champions, I think a lot of people forget that they've won the ISL twice in season 2 and in 2020, right? No, 19. Yeah, 19. Yeah, 20 was it? Was it
17, 18, I
17?
think. Yeah,
Was
they
it?
beat
I'm
BFC
so
that
lost.
event.
I think in the year 17,
Sorry, they
18,
lost. Yeah, they lost the
19,
second. They won the second and the fourth. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, second and
yes,
the fourth.
second, 17,
Yeah.
18.
The
So,
year,
so
yeah, yeah, the
yeah,
year
so
after.
ISL has been happening so long. It's not that short a league. So we've even forgot when someone has won. But they've been struggling over the last few years, and now again, star players leaving. I mean, Anirudh Thapa is another sort of story of a player who's been a long time at a club, and has been sort of the face of the club, a senior pro in the national team. Do you think it would be wise for him? I mean, it looks like that both Mumbai City and Mohun Bagan Supergiant are trying to sign him. Would it be a good move for him to leave sort of the family home of Chennai FC and move to one of the big clubs?
Me personally, I think it is time for him to move on. Similar to the Danta situation. I mean, he's not fallen off a cliff or anything like that, but it's probably time for him to play with one of the big boys right now. And I think there is space in certainly one of these side, probably a Mumbai City. If they choose to go with just the one foreign midfielder, then there is space next to Apuya because Jahu is left. There is a possibility for him to play there. So yeah, I think definitely a step up for Anirudh Thapa would be great.
Sandeep?
I think I always wanted Andrew Thapa to be in Chennai. I wanted him to be that guy that you recognize for that team, like how you say Sunil Chetri and you remember Bangalore FC. So like very few, right? There are very few players who have that kind of association, and I thought he would be a perfect place because he was challenging for titles, like you mentioned, one, and then the 2019 they lost the final, I think, or
Yeah.
they lost the semi-final. No, they lost the
No,
final
there was
with
the final. They were bottom of the
yeah, with
table. Owen
Owen.
Coyle came in,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
reached the final. Yeah.
So, but the problem with that team is you never know what they're doing. And they just every year is a reset, and then there is very little planning, and then they bring the new coach, a bunch of new players, and then they all are shipped away at the end of the season. Fans, from what I understand from social media, are not too happy with the way the club is being run, not too happy with the direction, with the kind of players that they're signing. But they always take those chances, right? They always went Brazilian heavy when they were winning,
Yeah.
and then they went to West Asia to get some players, Fatkalo, and they had the Iranian and few others. So they do these things which is like a hit and miss. So it's like one of those things, right? It's like a free hit in cricket. You hit it, it's okay. If it's not, then it's a waste of a ball. So I understand if Tapa wants to leave, why he wants to leave, because you know with Mumbai that you are going to challenge. You know with Mumbai that at least next year they're going to play the Champions League. So there is things to aspire to when you go to Mumbai. But with Chennai, it's just, can they do it? It's just a matter of getting a few things right. I don't know where the buck has to stop somewhere, but it's it that team and the Northeast United are two teams I understand absolutely zero. At least with East Bengal, you know that they are making a lot of mistakes and why they are making those mistakes. These two teams, they just keep making random mistakes. I mean, at least Northeast money is an issue. Chennai, it's just random.
It's crazy. You just mentioned Mumbai, Shayan. You didn't mention the Kolkata side of Mohan Bagan, who are also pitching for him. Would you wish for him to move, to stay, or come to Kolkata, go to Mumbai? What's your thought process?
Uh, See, as a if I say Anirudh Thapa has been one of our playing 11 player of our national team, and I think he may be aspiring to play for the Champions League or a AFC Cup. Mohun Bagan will also play in the AFC Cup, as Mumbai City FC will be playing in the AFC Champions League. So if you see Chennai, it's right now they are again in a rebuilding mode. Again, every season this happens. They again go for a rebuilding mode. They get in few players again. They start before the season. They have a preseason of 10-15 days. Then the show starts. This season, I think they were pretty good. Means if you see the matches, Chennai were was never out of the race. Actually, they were the seventh team in the if you see seventh, Goa and they were more or less in the same spray. So if you ask me, Chennai, if, for Anirudh Thapa, it's better he leaves Chennai. Player like Anirudh Thapa deserves a better team, if you ask me. And why not Mohun Bagan? Because every time Mumbai City FC can't only win. No, other teams are also there in the market to win. So why not
But it's
Mohun Bagan?
but it's
See,
interesting.
this is the
Some of the
champions are saying this.
yeah,
The
but
current
but
champions are saying this.
but
The
it's interesting
Champions
to
League.
see. The point was, it's interesting that Mumbai City, that the players that they've and Mohun Bagan have been trying to sign over the last 2-3 windows. We talk about Changte, we talk about Apuya. Mumbai has come out on top. So this seems to be also the biggest transfer battle, so to say, on Indian shores. Rahul, BFC fan, would you have liked if BFC have tried to at least put in a bid for Anirudh Thapa, or are you happy with Suresh and with Rohit Kumar, or would you have
I
tried
don't
to
know.
sign?
Like I'm personally someone who is. I mean, obviously we have our opinions, but I like to back the club. I like the way Rohit played last season, and I think there is a future in this midfield. You know, Rohit and Suresh. I want to see the same midfield for the next, say, like 2-3 years. That's when players understand each other. They get to, play more football together, and it's often better for the club in the long run. And I'm honestly pretty happy with Rohit and Suresh right now.
But at some point, I think Tapa also has to take some responsibility, right? He's not been that outstanding player that we all expected him to be. We all know he has the skill. He shoots. That one of the games he hit a volley with the left and then he hit a volley with the right, the same sequence. So he has all the skills, but just a little inconsistent here and there. Maybe that can be attributed to the club, the team as well. But if he goes to Mumbai, we saw what happened with Changte. We've seen Mehta getting better. We've seen even Vignesh, who I saw in Super Division with Ozone as a winger, and
Hmm.
he's been converted into a left back and who scored some crazy goals also through the years. So Des will improve him. Whether he can be a constant in the midfield is another question. Like you mentioned, Apuya I think has to be starting, and the second Indian maybe Jahu. They'll get a replacement for Jahu, right? Obviously. So that part is there, but I think Tapa to some extent has also underachieved. in my opinion. I know it's a scandalous thing to say, but I feel like he could have done a lot more, and he can do a lot more. And I only put that pressure because obviously we know that he can do a lot more. So that's
And
my.
you're very right, and Tamil Raha is pointing out Chennai should release Thapa if they want to make money. Next year they cannot make any money. Just a business case. If Chennai expect long-term contract, then it's okay. So that's also a point that we've suddenly have in Indian football a transfer market where clubs are willing to pay a transfer fee, which did not exist a few years ago. So suddenly that is something for teams or sort of mid-level, lower-rung teams from the big sides are willing to spend. So that's an interesting scenario regarding Thapa. And I think Chennai are an interesting scenario if they are, and they are going to rebuild, right? So the question is, do you keep Thapa? Do you keep players like Rahim Ali? Do you keep Vinci Barreto? Especially Akash Sangwan seems to be now suddenly in discussions in regard to all of that that's happening around Akash Mishra. We will come to that a little later. So therefore, Chennai are sort of in a fix. But again, the first question is who is going to be the new head coach? Again, from what I've heard and what I've understand is that at the moment they're tending towards or trending towards going British this year, either with someone from England or from Scotland.
Guys, just one question. Somebody I've noticed actually whenever I've seen Chennai play is Vinci Barreto, I just feel like he's really raw at the moment. But I think with the right coach, with the right people around him, he can probably be a consistent winger for a team like Chennai. And what are your thoughts on Vinci Barreto as a player? Anybody wants? Anyone?
I think Vinci Barreto is one of those players, as you say, is quite raw. He's got speed on his side. He's another different version of a Liston Colasso. You've got a lot of these go-and wingers. We've had them over the years. I will go back a long time and player like an Anthony Pereira we used to see, used to run bomb up and down, was a trusted player of Armand Colasso. So that kind of a player. Question is again, can he take the next step? I think a lot of these players have a certain level of potential. Romeo Fernandez, I think this one of the stories of the start when the ISL started, went even to Atletico Paranense and now is playing lower level football in Goa, if I'm not wrong. So therefore, Vinci has to be smart as well. Either staying another season in Chennai. Now the question is, if he stays in Chennai, will that coach trust him, or will that coach not trust him, or maybe go on to another team? But then the question is, what is your competition? Are you getting enough game time? So that has to be a wise move. Same applies to a player like Rahim Ali, who of course I remember playing at youth level as a number 9, but an Indian as a number 9 is rarely played. Even Sunil Chetri has to play wide. So therefore, these players nearly, if they're going to take the next step up to another club, they have to decide of where they want to go and where they want to sign.
Kumar has been asking us for us to take this question, and we'll take it. Why are ISL clubs not signing foreigners from, say, the Bundesliga, La Liga, Segunda Division, the second leagues in European countries, and players who are, say, mid-30s? Why are they not approached by Indian clubs? Sandeep, you want to take this?
But they are, no? A lot of the players have played Segunda Division or Tercera or Segunda B. Some of them even played La Liga, right? Miku played La Liga for a very long time. I don't know where all he's played and how long he's played. So I don't know if there is a dearth of that. I
I
mean,
think
Bundesliga, I don't.
second tier, there's a lot. I think we have a lot of second tier players, beat the championship, as you say, Secunda. We've had not second tier, rather third tier German players in Julius Dücker last season at Chennai. And we've had Matti Steinmann at East Bengal, that kind of player. We had in the first season at Mumbai City, Manuel Friedrich, who joined us from Borussia Dortmund. So we've had those top level players joining us. The question is, of course, and we'll come to Jason Cummings a little later when we come to the topic of Mohun Bagan, is the question of how much are the clubs willing to offer. Now, the Spanish payment structure or the salaries are lower than they are in England or in Germany, to some extent now even in Italy, or even some of the top French clubs are paying quite good money. So therefore you see players who play for smaller teams in La Liga. If you're playing for, I don't know, an Eibar or something of that sort, potentially an ISL team will pay you more. Australian A-League, we're picking up top talent from the Australian A-League. The ISL pays more money than the A League. So in that way, again, if you compare Australia, a team which has reached the knockouts of the last World Cup, and look at where our national team is, I'd say that we actually buy much better players today than we used to buy, even at the start of the ISL, where we tried to buy those marquee players and over the hill players. But now I think a lot of players, we'll come to talk about East Bengal as well, players like Saul Crespo, Borja Herrera, players who are 25, 26, 27, who are not even still maybe in their prime or reaching their prime, those kind of players. We're not buying those mid 30s, even though you have, especially with the strikers, you buy the older lot and they're still able to fire in India. So that's, I wouldn't agree, Kumar, with that assumption of yours, to be honest.
Guys, let's move on to talking about another club. Another club that's obviously right now in the limelight, Kerala Blasters, for other reasons. But what do you guys think? What do you make of the situation at Kerala right now? Who do they need? What do they need? Shayan, what do you think are things that are lacking in Kerala right now?
If you ask me, Kerala Blasters in this season, I think the plan, what I see of them, they are making a team basically. The men's team, I think there is not much of an issue. They are on the right track. Maybe not like Chennai, the club which we discussed just before now. They have some players. I think Luna is staying back with them, and I'm expecting 2-3 more inclusion. I think one of the A League stars have also joined them. Then Leskovic is also will be part of this team. There was a time when Slavko Damjanovic was also linked with them, but again he then, I think what I heard now Bengaluru he's going to sign for Bengaluru. So they are on the proper way. They have a stand goalkeeper Prab Sugan Gill is there in the side. Most probably they will be releasing Nishu Kumar. What I know, there's a probability they will be releasing Nishu Kumar. So Kerala Blasters, I think one interesting thing what I found was the captain of the side was released, and the guy is going to a different club now. That was an interesting move. I think Ivan Kaluzhny, if he would have, Ivan Vukovanovic, sorry, would have thought in that ways. So that is again the coach needs to see and decide on his team what he wants. But I see Kerala on a better way. I think they don't have much to do. They need to see proper players, and I think they're looking for a Dominic player. I think that's not a rumor. What I've heard. I think St. Dominic's player. I think they are looking out for that option, and I think they are on a in a correct track. And in next 15-20 days, I think Kerala Blasters would be a team which will be the if we discuss about Mohun Bagan Super Giant, Mumbai City FC, FC Goa, then Bengaluru FC, and I think the fourth, fifth, I think fifth and sixth, I think Kerala Blasters and Odisha or East Bengal would be in my fray. They would come in that way, because I see other clubs are more in vulnerable position than Kerala Blasters are right now.
But I thought it was interesting to see, if you look at the Blasters, that Vukomanovic was allowing 3 seasoned left or right backs leave, or set to leave, right? With Cabra already released, Jessel leaving, set to join VFC. Also Nishu Kumar, they signed him on one of the highest contracts at the time. And again, has Nishu really performed to that level? With injuries and other things, can be questioned. Rather, those cheap options of a Sandeep Singh has played well. Hormipam has been extended as a centre back for a long-term contract. I think that was a very, very wise move, because otherwise potentially Mumbai City or Mohun Bagan would have jumped to sign him at some stage. Sandeep, how do you see the Blasters shaping up? And an additional question, Sandeep, we've talked about players staying long-term with the club. Their poster boy, Sahal, should he stay or should he try something somewhere else? Also, as an additional question.
I don't think Sahel is going anywhere. Uh, should he say is a whole other question. I think, yeah. I mean, again, Sahel, much like Thapa, has all the talent in the world, but I still feel like sometimes the end product is not there. Rahul KP is another player.
Same one, huh?
They're good. They show glimpses of what they can do. There are games when they turn it on, and then there are games when it just doesn't work for them. And to be fair to Ukmanovic, he did get a lot out of them in the last 2 years. Maybe not in numbers, but in terms of certainly some amount of performance and stuff. But my biggest question here is, Is Ivan going to continue? That's a major question which I think nobody's asking. And fair, to be fair, the fans love him. Like the day before he did the walkout, I wrote a massive piece saying like the Ivanism that has taken over Kerala and all the rest of it. And then you look at the situation that he's put the club in now, with an action like that. You cost the already sanctioned by the league. Sorry, by AFF. The league is going to come down heavily on them because they have to. And like if they don't, then others will start questioning. Right? Goa got what 8 crore fine when the whole melee happened at the end of the
Mhm.
ISL, and that is not even like that is a presentation thing and some pushing and shoving and things like that. So if they are let go with a relatively lesser amount of fine, they are that's not a great precedence for them to set, and that's a lot of money that the club is going to be leaking next year. I know they have tied the whole thing to stopping the women's football activity, which I think is a bogus reason. But at the same time, they are going to lose a lot of money. So I'm putting it to you guys. Like, do you think Ivan will continue? Because I have my doubts. And if he doesn't continue, the fans are going to be really upset because he is this guy who has finally given Kerala Blasters a soul and who has touched the sort of the entire community in a manner which previous ones to Kopel and Elko Shatori, they tried everybody, it never really worked. He is that guy.
And despite the pandemic, no, he was there. He
Yeah, yeah.
came in the pandemic. He
Mm,
was not even in Kochi or in Kerala. And
mm,
Sandeep, I have had the same feeling because it's a weird silence in regard to the whole Vukomanovic topic, and I have this feeling. It
mm,
was also very weird in the way they ended the relationship with Ishfaq Ahmed, who I think was also a very key factor in the Indian signings that have happened over the last few years. Ishfaq and Carolis as a combo. And I feel I don't know. And today's announcement, we can mention it that they've shut down their women's team, and it's I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to link it somehow to that. And again, it's a fault. Again, let's not get into the details of what happened that night in Bangalore. But again, it's a fault that you guys did and nobody else. So don't try and put the blame on somebody else. But I think. The Blasters have smartly been able to keep some of their key assets, some of the young talent. They've brought in some very good players over the last 2-3 years. Have also, of course, some of them have not worked. Mahesh Naurem, for example, a very good one who they also had, didn't work. Gibson Singh has not worked for them. But of course, and I agree with Sandeep on the Sahal thing. And Rahul, those two exceptional talents, but consistency. And we can talk about nearly all players when we talk about consistency in Indian football. And I think that's going to be the challenge when we talk about the Blasters. But the Blasters seem to be very interesting in the market. Diamantakos has been retained, a very positive influence as a striker, as a character. Gianni hasn't. They're bringing in some other players, so it'll be very interesting to see how they built it. And again, this love, this passion that the Blasters have really created is it's a model story for the Indian Super League, I guess. In a certain way, but again, the negative aspects also showed itself towards the end of last season. Also around that whole episode or saga, whatever happened in Bangalore, and let's not get into that one. Let's be honest, and stick to the transfers. Moving a little north, but to the west from Kerala, um, the league champions, the league shield winners, Mumbai City. Some interesting releases of players, some interesting extensions. Des Buckingham, I guess some people were surprised after not getting into the playoffs the season before, was given the option to stay, won the league shield, has been given an extension despite having offers within the City Football Group from New Zealand. How do you see Mumbai City shaping up? Also, it looks like that the Indian boys will stay. None of them will be shifted to any CFG club at the moment. It looks like there's no Changte or Vikram or Apuya leaving the club at the moment.
For me, at least, I think Mumbai City are pretty much the same. I don't see them falling off a little, or I don't see anything going wrong with Mumbai City. I think they're only going to get better from here. It's good that they've retained their Indian core, which is important because then the coach has, the same players to work with, and then he can instill his philosophy of what he wants to do in the players. And yeah, again, just the one loss, I think one huge loss for them is missing Jahu. It'll be interesting to see how they fill that void in midfield. And yeah, apart from that, again, even if they do get Akash Mishra, he'll probably be an upgrade on Vignesh. But Vignesh, in his own right, is a good left back. And overall, if you look at Mumbai City, I don't think that there's too much to worry about. They're pretty solid. They're going to have another good year, in my opinion.
If they get Akash
One of the
Mishra, I think that's it.
Yeah, please,
uh,
Sandeep,
uh,
start. Yeah, Akash Mishra. I think that's the big summer saga we'll come to talk about, huh? Sandeep?
Hey, they get him, they're sorted. Like Rahul said, the problem is always wing backs. Get Akash Mishra, one side is showed up, and Des can work with that. I think he's a great coach. The way he speaks, how clear he is with his instruction, how he's developed. Changte used to arrive at the same positions for 3 years before, 2 years before, and just miss. And he's added that patience, that calmness in the final third. Confidence is on an all-time high. Rahul Beke sort of rediscovered himself, I think, to a large extent. Well, he's actually a Rolls-Royce defender, Rahul Beke. But he has that one mistake, right? Early in the match, he makes that mistake, then you know he'll be fine. So, like, he's a Rolls-Royce player, and he's managed.
Shayan is an East Bengal fan. He remembers those mistakes, huh? And they remember as well at Mumbai FC and even at BFC, Rahul. I think everyone remembers Rahul Beke. But again, the player
But
that
scored
I
big
thought,
goals.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
great
ISL
goals.
final, AFC Cup final. He scored against Qatar, UAE, I think, one of them
no, in
for
the
India.
no, he scored a goal in AFC Champions League for Mumbai City FC,
Yeah, he
and
did that as
which
well.
was
Yeah,
Yeah.
against
For the
Airports
national team,
Club.
he scored 1 week before
yeah.
against one of the West Asian teams. ISL final, he scored the winner for BFC. He's a big game player, but he always has that one mistake somewhere. You're afraid he may not make it, but you're afraid you have that one mistake. But when he's on it, like what a player! He can pass. He can put himself out there with any foreign striker also. So I really like him as a player, and I know I like what Des has done with him. And I think the players that they've lost, Murtada Fall was not playing that much, right? Like Royce Griffiths was the main guy. Jahu, yeah, I'm sure they'll find a replacement for him. Extended the striker's contract, so they're more or less sorted in most of the things. They just need to add few things, and Akash Mishra is the cherry on top. You get him, and that team is done.
Is it the way that Mumbai is going about? I'm hearing also that Himanshu Jangra might be actually on his way to Mumbai City. I'm hearing that as well. I don't know if you've heard that one. Who of course has not had sort of the season that the young striker would have liked. But you already have Gurkirat, you've got Vikram up there as well. Would it make sense for Himanshu Jangra to join Mumbai City and rather play second team football in the development league and in the second division I League?
If I can answer
Yeah,
this or no?
go ahead, Shayan. Yeah, please.
Basically, if you see Himanshu Jangra had some injury issues also when he joined East Bengal, and in fact we discussed also, and in fact I asked Stephen why he was not playing. They had some issues with the injury part of Himanshu. So right now, as you said that he should he should join Mumbai City FC or not. I think for a young player like him, he should always go for a team where I think he will get a good match time. I think why not join a I League team? But at least he would get some time. Actually, we are not able to develop players because if you see 3 years back there was a guy in Kolkata, Jobby Justin. He was one of the, I think he was one of the budding talents, but he passed away because he joined a ATK Mohun Bagan that time. Right now, who are Mohun Bagan Super Giants, because the team doesn't he will hardly get a chance to play for the team if of that level, in the playing 11 at least. So I don't think Himanshu Jangra as a player should take a decision to join a team like Mumbai City FC, where I think he would I think he would get a very limited time period to play. I think it's better for him if he joins a team like Northeast United or any club where the game time is guaranteed. I think that's very much important for him also, and that is very much important for Indian football also. And I think young budding strikers or young budding any Indian player should always look for a. I think the problem which I think one of the I think we have discussed before also, and I think Sandeep and Rahul would agree that the problem with our Indian talents, young Indian talents, is that we always fall free play for money. and where we lose out, we don't have a long term vision as a player, and how we can go about it. So that is very very important. And seeing, I understand money is very much, player have a very less salary,
Oh, there we seem to have lost Cheyenne for the moment. But Cheyenne is making a very valid point, right, Sandeep?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I think he,
uh,
like someone there, like
yes, yes.
some
uh,
who has mentioned, Tejas has said in the
uh,
comments, right? He can stay in Delhi only. They were reaching the I League anyway.
no, no,
That's an interesting thing, right? That might be an option. The question is now with these kind of players, Mumbai City have signed a lot of these young boys. Gyani Nikam, of course, another one who has been sort of a standout for Rajasthan United in the I League over 1.5 seasons as well. Is Des sort of preparing the next line potentially to enable maybe the one or the other Indian player, because that question is also asked regarding players going to lower division clubs in Europe, to maybe consider with the help of CFG in 2024 to send some of these boys abroad and maybe give it a shout. I remember that I was involved in trying to get Changte to Viking Stavanger. Did happen, but in the end, of course, he chose to sign for Chennai. Is that maybe an option to look at for some of these boys that Mumbai City or the CFG, or the City Football Group rather, are looking to develop Indian talent to a high level at which we are not able to do it at the moment, Sandeep?
I honestly don't know what they are, how much they can do. Like you live in Germany. Do you think any of the players here have the potential to play Bundesliga too, even at that level?
No, no.
So you will have to look at the lower leagues in one of the smaller leagues in Europe.
Yeah,
Uh, I am not very much
that's the
sure.
challenge. I think that's the biggest challenge we have, is to realize there are two factors. I think one is our standard of football, and secondly the payment, the amount of money that our players get. That's why I was saying also the example of players from La Liga choosing to come to India, where they're higher paid than they are paid in La Liga. I remember a striker came over and was an instant hit in India, and he said to me, "Listen, you know what? I used to earn 500 euros a month in Spain." And here in India, look, I'm earning in 5-digit figures. And I'm a hero over here. So for a lot of these players, that's an opportunity. So the question is also for all these stars. Our players are stars in their own rights. Would they be willing to do what a Baichung Bhutia or a Sunil Chetri have done in the past? Gurpreet Singh Sandhu was a little different. He was released at the time by East Bengal, had the opportunity. And I think that Gurpreet Singh Sandhu today is only the player that he is because he spent those 3 years in Stabæk. So that's a different story. But our superstars are failed entities in Europe. We have to be honest about that. Baichung didn't cut it at Bury. Sunil didn't do it in Kansas, and he didn't do it in Sporting. But from a human element, it has been very very important. So that's the question that I think that comes up and crops up when we talk about players going abroad, taking the right decisions and transfers. Again, there are agents behind, there are families. A lot of them come from humble backgrounds. I understand the money factor, but the question is, what is your career path, what is your career planning? And that is something which looks very very difficult. I think Sumit Rathi was mentioned a little earlier, as a prime example. One of the emerging players of the ISL a few years back, and still with Mohun Bagan, and every year some other left back or centre back is placed in front of him, and sadly he's not getting playing time. So those, I guess, are the challenges.
I think I honestly I was watching the under 20 Kafa matches,
Yeah.
and before that I was watching the Southeast Asian games and the Suzuki Cup. The players that they play over there, let's say is Southeast Asia, I don't think an Indian player can go and live in any of those teams. Honestly, they play at such a high level. It's sad that they play most of their tournaments outside FIFA window, and they end up playing against each other a lot more. So their rankings don't go up. But those, they Vietnam has a striker, Haitin Lin or something. That fellow is really good as a number 9. And the Thailand had players in the J League. So you are looking at these guys developing, and I honestly think we are still lacking. We have one or two who can still maybe go there and play a bit part role. Maybe some one or two who can stay there. Apuya maybe can do something, but generally speaking, even youngsters, the under 23, they played Southeast Asian game. They were so good. Everything was touched and controlled in one touch and everything. And you see sometimes here 3 touch, 4 touch for the ball to be under control also.
Sandeep,
So
I don't even need to go to Saudi Arabia. I just need to go to the match India versus Myanmar in Manipur, where I felt, and I don't know if you guys agree, I felt that Myanmar technically were better than us, where we were physically much
Correct.
stronger, much better than them. So I felt that. I had a conversation the other day when I saw the under 17s in Stuttgart. And the German coaches seem to persist and say, listen, I feel your kids are spend more time in the gym than rather on the field. So that's another fitness aspect that we can again maybe a conversation for another podcast in general to
you should
talk
ask
about
the
it. Where
coach also to ask him what the age is also, just in case.
that's a different question. Again, what under we are, that's a totally
Yeah,
different conversation.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the most difficult question of all. But again, that's never been touched by the federation. So let's leave it at that for the moment, because we can start with our so-called legends. We don't even know how old they are, right? So therefore, that's a reality. But Mumbai City, finishing off, if they can bring in Akash Mishra, that is sort of the one weak spot that they have. I think that's a summary. And Anirudh Thapa would be sort of a bonus, sort of looking at the squad that they have currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, if you see, there is only one place I think Mumbai City FC is lacking. That is the left back position. And if Akash comes in, that is sealed. I think Anirudh Thapa's addition would be somewhat. It will be a sort of bonus, as you said. I think Mumbai City FC is quite sorted. I don't think this one or two addition will make this team go to the next level. And I really feel, as an Indian football fan, they do well in the AFC Champions League.
All right. Moving on. Now we come to the expertise of Cheyenne. Now you will come under pressure. Um, um, we go first to East Bengal before we go to Mohun Bagan SG, which is another confusion, guys. I was talking with Cheyenne and some other people. Um, Originally was announced that it's called Mohun Bagan Super Giants. Now it seems to be that it's going to be called Super Giant. So maybe someone can clarify that, if you know why this Mr. Goenka announces it Super Giants and then make it Super Giant, because I did a little digging yesterday and found that Lucknow is called Super Giants, but it was Rising Pune Super Giant. So therefore, if someone of you guys who are watching know the answer to that, why suddenly from Giants to Giant, that would be nice to
But can I
to
ask one question to both of you? Actually,
please.
the big issue last year was ATK Mohan Bagan. They did not want ATK, which was another franchise. They didn't want to sort of go off that history. But now you have Mohan Bagan Super Giant or Giants SG, let's say, which is
Yeah.
a cricket team. So, how are the fans okay with this? Like, for all the fight that you had for ATK, isn't this a similar situation that you are adopting another team onto the same thing? Yes, it's at the back end rather than the front end. How are the fans okay with this, or are they okay with this? What is the situation in Kolkata with the team?
Another, I can answer this
Yes,
first.
please go ahead. Please. You
Actually,
are sitting
Sandeep,
in Kolkata, so therefore you have to answer the question now.
okay. So, Sandeep, if you see, the basically problem for Mohun Bagan fans, what they had was they were against ATK coming in place in front of Mohun Bagan, ATK Mohun Bagan, and ATK was one of the successful clubs in ISL, and they were able to build some sort of fan support for them. And Mohun Bagan, again, a club which is 120 years plus old and which has a rich heritage, and people connect with them more often. So Mohun Bagan fan took it very seriously. But currently, when Mr. Sanjeev Goenka said after the ISL final that the team will be called so-called Mohun Bagan Super Giant team, the supporters of all the fan clubs, I've interacted with many of their fan club. They are quite happy with it, because see, at the end of the day, what they do, cricket team and football team, is a different proportion. That name Mohan Bagan was missing in that ways when ATK was there, because ATK was another football team who was part of the system. And this merge, there may be question that why this merge was happening. uh, I think the success of Mohun Bagan current district, according to me, has a lot to do with the ATK management. That's a different story. But if you are merging with Mohun Bagan, and this is bound to happen because the fans are very emotionally vocal, and it was very very difficult for Mr. Goenka. But if you see the attendance, the Mohun Bagan Super Giants attendance was after Kerala Blasters this season. If you see the just normal attendance, despite the boycott of two major fan clubs of Mohun Bagan, despite there was a boycott of two Mohun Bagan fan clubs. So what I think, there's a happy mood right now in Kolkata, and Mohun Bagan fans and they are doing they are very happy that this happened, and with the addition of Jason Cummins and everything, now though it is a happy family. Mohun Bagan family is right now very happy, and people are very happy. They're expecting very good names to sign for them, and SG Mohun Bagan Super Giant or Giants, whatever may be the name, but people are happy, and the protest has died down now. There's no issues with the name. The problem they had was with ATK, not with any other thing. But what I
I,
saw of the situation there.
I think to add to that, what Shayan is saying, I think it's a question of definition of what it is. And I think if you look at, you've had in the past, McDowell, Mohun Bagan as well, where or Kingfisher, East Bengal, that Mr. Malia, of course, was very, very involved in these clubs in regard to money, not involved in the running of the clubs. But here you have de facto Mohun Bagan riding on the back of ATK to get into the ISL, because you are not a new entrant to the league. You are piggybacking on the ATK part, and I think strategically, I think that Mr. Goenka's teams did a few mistakes at the start, because when they started off with the new club, with the new history and everything, all of those things, maybe those things could have been handled differently, and I think the storytelling was not right, in my opinion at least, because I think for it doesn't matter if it's Mohun Bagan fans or other fans. I think some of the biggest clubs in the world are actually merged entities. I always say that one of my favorites, which I like to go and watch, which is around the corner, FC Cologne. FC Cologne is a merged entity club, because there were two suburb clubs in the city of Cologne who realized that they would only be stronger and can compete in the old West German football league at the time, because the Bundesliga didn't exist in the late 40s, and it was post-war era, that they came together and formed an Erster FC Köln, first football club of Cologne. And that way, there are many of these entities, especially here in Germany. Or my hometown club, FC Remscheid, is a merged entity of two teams as well, to try and play. They used to play second Bundesliga. That was the aim, to try and move up the divisions. And therefore, that is a point that I feel that is there. And to them, Shayan has mentioned also, I think for them, Mohun Bagan has to somewhat stand first, and then whatever comes second. And that is something that has been sort of an issue, because I think there is no denying the fact that if you see that when you compare East Bengal and Mohun Bagan tying up with Mr. Goenka's group and getting them involved, and they having, of course, the football expertise, they are still running on that expertise of football that Mr. Goenka's team brings in. And they've, and that is an advantage for Mohun Bagan. And East Bengal, of course, have been trying their luck over the last 4, 5, 6 years with different corporate partners, and for different reasons within the club, is not has not worked so far. So that's the challenge that they now have with bringing in Carlos into this equation. Carlos Quadrado is a new coach, making some, I think, good signings to start off with the foreigners, with the Spanish brigade of experienced ISL players of Saul Crespo, Borja Herrera, Javi Severio, besides keeping Clayton Silva. I think that's already a very, very good combination. I was discussing with Shayan yesterday as well. Ivan Gonzalez will be decided. I think Ivan Gonzalez is someone that if he can play the level that he's able to play, is a quality centre back, but he's not been able to show that. So East Bengal seems to have a good foreign contingent, but I feel again, if I see the signings that East Bengal are trying to do, Nanda Kumar, big signing, good signing, but I have Mahesh Naurem in that position. So was the need to really sign that? And if I'm looking at my Edwin Vanspol, seems to be clear. I'm trying to sign Khabra. I'm trying to sign Nishu. I'm trying to sign Mandar. I'm actually trying to sign left backs and right backs and wingers. But East Bengal doesn't have a spine. I was just telling Shine, I think, Kamaljeet does have his good games, but also has his very, very bad games. So I think a good goalkeeper is a need of the hour for East Bengal, a quality Indian centre back. That is a need, and I think a good Indian holding midfielder. If East Bengal can build that, then maybe they could challenge for a top six, because I think also East Bengal needs to wake up to the reality that the ISL is something different than the old I League used to be. I think that's another realization that they still haven't made. They think they're one of the biggest players in this league, in this market, but they are. I feel they're not, and I say that with great respect. But East Bengal as a club needs to wake up to that reality and needs 2-3 years really to build and get back. Again, look at BFC. With all that BFC has done right off the field, on the field. But even BFC, after a very, very successful era with those players, the team that Albert Rocker has built, they still actually have not really. They've reached the final, but they still don't have a team to say, listen, that team can run for 2-3 years. They're now rebuilding, and I think, Shayan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think East Bengal has a lot at stake, lot of work still to be done to really move to the next level.
So Runamata, yesterday when we were discussing also, and we have discussed many times regarding East Bengal and their current season, why the success is not happening in East Bengal. In the last 3 years, when they joined ISL, Indian Super League, there was actually the level was up. It was difficult, and they didn't have that transfer window to get in players. It was very difficult for them. In the first year, if you remember, when C Cement it was in part, I think Robbie Fowler didn't had that time to get in the team, and the team somehow was finished ninth in the second season. They were game outside the field also. Protests for the investor. I think the investor. There was a time, I think our chief minister of the West Bengal intervened, and the investor issue was solved. And C Cement, I think by forcefully they continued for the second season. That got over, and after that it was again Imami who joined the picture. So East Bengal has a problem which is inside the field. I'll say there are two basic problem of East Bengal. What East Bengal is facing right now. First, on the field, what I feel, there is lack of continuity. If you see all the ISL clubs who have been successful, if you see last season, there are four teams. There are the best four teams. You see all the coaches were in the second season. All the coaches. And if you see in case of East Bengal, every year the coach gets changed, player gets changed, and every year there is a new setup which is coming on. What it is becoming, the players, like I've even interacted with many of the national team players, one or two national team players who I know personally. They are also not convinced to come to East Bengal because they are also unsure what will happen next. See, you have to build a culture where I think internally we have to fix things, and I think continuity is the biggest problem on field. Off the field, investor issue needs to be sorted. I think the officials who have been running this game for many years now, they have to accept that they have to take the back seat, and people who are really paying money from their pocket, their voice needs to be heard more. I think a per guy who is spending 30 to 40 crores in any team, because Indian football proposition, we are all aware that all are in no, none of the clubs are in green or even yellow, all are in red. So it's very, very important that it's very difficult to get investors in Indian football right now. Very, very difficult. If you see people say that Nita Ambani is making so much money out of ISL, I really laugh at people when they say these things, because this is not so easy. It's not so easy. We have to understand the investor who are spending our money to our club. Their voice needs to be heard. If you are not making their voice are not heard, if they are heckled by few people, I would use the word heckled because it happened when Quest was in the cards. In last 6 years, there has been 3 investors, and I'm very much sure. I'm not speculating. I'm very much sure the Imami for the next year is also a bit doubtful. What I know, so I'll expect East Bengal to get in some good players. If you see this season, East Bengal has started early, which is a good sign. Last year, in this time, East Bengal was actually coach was also not fixed by this time. At least they have a team. They have got in a very good player, Nanda Kumar. Aunauda is saying that yes, we have got an Aure Mahesh Singh, so why Nanda Kumar? But at least it's good to have some option. But the real problem is Bengal will have, they have to get a good quality Indian signing in centre back position. Very, very important. I think Lal, people may say he has played superb and out of the skin, but I think he has more scope for improvement. What I feel of him as a player, and if you see the goalkeeping position, Kamaljit, I don't see Kamaljit being part of any ISL team, first choice goalkeeper, because the inconsistent performance of his has ruined us many games. People may say he was under pressure, but some. In fact, I remember the Orissa game. He was not in any pressure. East Bengal was leading the 2-0, was 2-0 up in the first half. It was due to the goal we considered. Then Orissa came back in the game. If you see the Mohun Bagan match, East Bengal played the first derby at the first half. East Bengal was totally, they were playing out of the skins against a very good team. Mohun Bagan Super Giant was much, much ahead in terms of quality. So the first is goalkeeping position needs to be settled. I think Unavada, I think he was saying yesterday, and we need to have good Indian signings. It's good. We have good foreigners. It's very, very good. Saul Crisp is a good signing. Borja Herrera is a good signing. But if you see the success of any ISL team, it is always because there has been a good Indian contingent in that squad. It is very, very important. If Indian players are not up to that mark, if they are not able to sign of good Indian players, they will struggle this season also. It is very, very important. So that needs to be taken. It's good they are signing good foreigners, but Indian players are also very, very important.
Yeah,
One of them.
that's the scenario with East Bengal. With East Bengal trying to sign, East Bengal has been in the market for some bigger names. Shine has been discussing that in the last few weeks. Not only him, but other channels as well have been discussing sort of who East Bengal have been trying to, and I guess a lot of the players have turned East Bengal down because they realize they're not a top team that they want to be to showcase themselves and understand what is happening.
One of the, I
Yeah.
want to add one thing. As an East Bengal fan, I think we should understand that, as you said when we started this discussion of East Bengal, that we should also try. We should understand we are no more the best first, two, or third, first, second, third of the league, boys of the league. So we are in a rebuilding phase. I think the fans also need to understand. They need to be also be patient. The patience is the key for any success. So the patience is very much needed, and it's very difficult. It's very easy to say that Steven was not good. I think last 13 years we had 17 coaches. So all the coaches were not good. I understand all the coaches were not good, but I think all the coaches deserve that respect, and they need some time to develop things. So my only request is that to the Kolkata media and everybody, and the fans also, if you lose two games, nothing loses. Where were you? We are in the 11th position. We are in the 9th position. Let's have a realistic approach. Let's go to the top six this time. East Bengal is always playing for the championship. This things doesn't work now in Indian football. আমরা খেলি যেটা I'm saying in Bengali they say this thing, no, আমরা খেলি, East Bengal খেলে জেতার জন্য, to be the champion. But this thing doesn't work now anymore. We have to realize that. See, we have to realize where we are. Then only we can go ahead. Or else we will never go ahead. That is the problem of East Bengal.
But that's the challenge. I mean, Carlos Quadrat coming in, Sandeep, based in Bangalore, Rahul, BFC fan. What's your opinion that Carlos is coming back into Indian football, Sandeep?
I'm quite happy. I get along well with Carles, actually. I spoke to him very briefly once he got the job. He's looking forward to it. Just a sweet nothing, right? Congratulations, all the best to you. That's and that. He's looking forward to the challenge. Obviously, I like him personally as well. I think Dimas coming there could be a surprise for a lot of people, but I've seen with my own eyes training sessions where Dimas and Carles were sitting together and figuring out. In fact, it was the semi-final second leg against ATK Mohun Bagan in 2019. So Dimas has been that, someone who you think is probably going into coaching. He's got him here. He knows the league, but the biggest challenge for them will be the media and the fan, because Bangalore fans are very forgiving, and they're sort of okay with a lot of things. They let it go. They'll support the team. But going to Kolkata as a whole other ball game, because you saw what the stress that Juan Fernando had last year. I don't think he has any nails left in his hands, because he is that much stressed because people are asking questions. Even when he was winning, they were asking questions.
Juan
Uh,
Fernando was nearly gone. By end of Jan, they
yeah,
Yes,
already said he will
yes.
not be the coach of ATK Mohun Bagan going into the Super Cup. It was nearly decided.
yeah.
That was the
So
situation. So,
it's just so scary to be there sometimes. So, but you're going into that cauldron knowing that the rewards that you get if you win with those teams is as big as the stress that you get on the other end. So, like you mentioned, I think you have to look at it step by step. Carles, is great in set pieces. And he will. He is more of a defensive coach when you compare to Roca. Although he worked under Roca, he is a defensively minded coach. He will try to shut shop a lot more. So all those things, Clayton Silva is one of the most underrated foreigners.
mm,
In the ISL, his goals are amazing. To score that many goals for a team like that last season is fantastic. So if everything aligns, for them lines up properly, they get their ducks in a row. I think top six is an outside chance. Maybe that will change when we know in 2 months' time who they have signed. The for Indian midfielders
mm.
or the Indian centre back. We'll know a lot more. I don't know the financial situation. I'm sure Sayan can enlighten us on that part. How much money they have to spend? Are they competitive in this market also? Because last few years they've just been spending randomly. Some agencies pushing some players also. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense what they're doing. So they have to get that part in order. Foreign players, I think, as you mentioned, they've got a good contingent. So this is what the challenge for them is, and I wish Carles the best because I do want him to succeed. He's a good guy.
Acha, Uno, I have a question for Sandeep. I have a
No,
question
before.
for
Ajay, okay, go
Ah,
ahead. Go ahead.
well,
No,
yeah,
no, you go ahead.
Sandeep, actually, you have known Carlos Quadrat for a long time when he was in BFC. So, and you know Kolkata also how it is and how things get bad to worse in one night. So, the thorough gentleman he is what come across me actually. I think you will be the best person to say this. That's why I'm asking you this question. Do you think that in this Kolkata heat, means the Juan Fernando scene, what you are saying, it will be, I think, more two times more when he Carlos, because you see how East Bengal fans are more vocal in that ways. If you see, all the coaches have lost their job because of the fans and the media over here. Because one game, if you lose, there's a lot of pressure. So, do you think that Bengaluru to Kolkata, this shift will be too much for him? I'm asking you this because I think there are many people who are saying this will be not so easy for him. Because this is a different ball game here in Kolkata.
It will not be easy for him at all, for sure. And the culture shock is going to come. I'm sure he's aware of what he's walking into and what kind of situation he's going into. But that culture shock, until you experience it, like even as a journalist, when you go to Kolkata and you hear the kind of questions people are asking, like we don't do that. Like last year, Simon Grayson had a horrible first half, right? Like none of us asked about his job or do you think of this, and none of those. We were very polite. We would ask in a masked manner, like, do you feel pressure? That kind of question. So he will have to deal with that. But Carles, to his credit, is a very smart, savvy person. He knows how to put the right words in the media. Also, you noticed before the semi-final against Northeast United, he mentioned these how they pull the shirt, and the referees are not giving them fouls, or he will put in these certain things in the media just before the game to sort of put his agenda out there also, which is very important, right, from a coaching point of view, to put the referees on notice or to put certain players say, oh, they do tactical fouls a lot. You have to look at that, and he'll just say this in passing, and that's enough for people to take notice of the whole thing, right? So all these things he will do. He is also smart and savvy to this, but the culture shock will be one. And secondly, in Bangalore, he coached a champion side, and he coached a side which has continued to have ambitions to be champion. So one first year was a championship, second year was a final. The third year when he left, it was in the middle of a pandemic. It was a strange season anyway. So he is used to being at that position where he has the players and the challenge of being a champion team. He's going into an East Bengal side where I don't know what sort of players he'll have. I'm sure he'll try to get the best. But the goal is not to be champions. The goal is to be as high as possible, right? If that is the championship, then that's great. If that is not, it's difficult to gauge where they will be. So like the fans also can't say we want to be top six or we want to be top four. It's up to every single person how you start the season and all those things. So I think that calibration, that recalibration from his end will also be very interesting, and that is a calibration recalibration that the fans have to do as well. If they don't coincide, then then we'll see some really tough situation. But I think he should be able to manage because he is quite media savvy.
Mhm.
Just to add to that, I actually wanted to come to Rahul, but I'll just add to that, Sandeep. If you look at what Quadrat is trying to do at East Bengal, and I somewhat, and I told Shayan this a few days back, I had a feeling that they were targeting ex BFC players who he knows. I felt
Hmm.
that Ashley Westwood did that a couple of seasons back when he joined Round Glass Punjab. That a lot of these ex BF original BFC players from
Hmm.
2013, 14, 15 were joining Round Glass Punjab. Do you see that as good or as a potential danger of these players are a little older and maybe not of that caliber as they used to be? Kolkata is totally different than Bangalore. That might not be sort of the best strategy of trying to sign players.
Yeah, it's tough to say, right? Nishu, is he the player that he used to be with all the injuries and in and out of the Kerala team also? If he can be that player, he had the best season obviously under Carles and Roca. So you would give him that benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe he can do it. Cabra, I think he's if they do sign him, is for the player that he's for the man that he is for the dressing room. Cabra is
Yes.
obviously people may have forgotten that he was the captain of East Bengal once upon a time when he was the Cabra, right? The midfielder who's got the tough tackling, heart on your sleeve, so sort of a player who's been converted into a wing back over the years. But him dressing room influence of Cabra is great. Everything I've heard about him from BFC, from Kerala Blasters, he played a huge role for Kerala Blasters last season. The season before, when they went to the final, he was a massive presence. So they probably getting him for those kind of addition. But otherwise, I think he has to bank on the current players and Edwin Sydney. Once I think, is a very good player who's been underutilized in some level at some point. If they can get the best out of him, also, I think it's great. But yeah, familiarity. Now, when we move to Odisha, we'll really talk about familiarity. But yeah, there
Yeah.
is no doubt. There is no doubt that he is trying to get some friendly faces in.
Rahul.
I think it's really important that they've got people who worked together in the past, like Carlos and Dimas have worked together in the past. So it's good that you have familiar faces there, and what to expect in terms of what this person is going to bring to the table and things like that. So yeah, it is nice that they've got people working together who've already done that in the past. In terms of the change from Bangalore to Kolkata, I have no idea about Kolkata, but yeah, for sure,
Mhm.
the crowd in Bangalore is definitely forgiving. I've seen my friend go and ask Khabra for a picture after he's gotten sent off in an important Asian game. So yeah, they've definitely forgiving crowd here, but like
If
will
he gets sent off in Kolkata, no one will want to be taking pictures with him. So that, and Capra knows that. Capra has that experience. So
Uh,
so yeah, I mean yeah, that's just to put things into context as to how the
yeah,
crowd is versus Kolkata. So yeah,
it's a different world. It's a different world,
yeah.
and I think it'll be a football culture shock for these guys who are used to a certain way of working in BFC, and I think BFC has set a lot of standards over the last decade since they have been around. So I think that's a interesting one. And East Bengal, we want to watch again. A lot of transfers in the pipeline, but again, those that we've spoken about, Nanda Kumar, Edwin Vanspaul has been confirmed. Khabra seem to be very close, hasn't been confirmed yet. Seems to be, as I've told Shayan as well, a link back to Punjab, back to Round Glass Punjab, potentially as well. Nishu Kumar,
Mandar also.
Mandar and Nishu are all been linked with East Bengal. So let's see. And again, but I'm not hearing they were early on in the transfer uh, period been linked to Prabsukhan Gill, but that seems to be now gotten cold because it seems like that the Blasters in the end do think that they want to keep him and not push Sachin up into being the number one goalkeeper. So a lot of interesting things about East Bengal and a lot of discussions. And when we go to their arch rivals, Mohun Bagan, let's call them Mohun Bagan SG to be safe, to be using the right term before, S, no S, that discussion comes back again. Um, Yeah, could be one of the biggest signings in the recent past if Jason Cummings does sign for Mohun Bagan, someone who's set the Australian A League on fire. He scored a hat trick just over the weekend to enable Central Coast Mariners to win the title after a decade. What kind of a signing would that be for the league? I mean, we've seen Petrotos taking his time but settling down, but Cummings seems to be a totally different kind of a beast. Sandeep.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are just signing absolute killers, huh? They signed Roy Krishna, then they signed Patratos. Now they're going for this strike. I don't know. At some level, I don't like what they're doing because they're destroying the market. At another level, they're getting such really good players that it's an absolute pleasure to watch them play. Also, I think Patratos scored a hat trick in the final last year. No, 2 goals and a penalty also, right?
Yeah, a
Right.
penalty. I think
What
all were penalties. He scored all
Yeah,
penalties.
all same side, smashed
Yeah.
same side. Such conviction, such confidence. I mean, it's fantastic. What I don't think people gave him the respect that he deserves. Petratos last year, but he's phenomenal, decisive player. So I'm just looking forward to seeing. I mean, I saw the goals that he scored over the weekend, and some really funny commentary to go along with it as well. But amazing to see them. Like I'm always concerned about what Indians that they are going to sign. Foreigners, I think they will just get the best of the bunch, and that team is always going to be a problem. And I just hope that they give. I don't think last season Johan Ferrando had much to say about a lot of the signings. You could see that he was not very happy. The Pogba and all hardly. I don't think he featured at all. So he maybe they should, if these signings are done in tandem after talking to Juan Ferrando, I think it would be an outstanding season for them because he's a great coach. Probably he's here only because of that eye injury he had, the infection he had,
Mm,
and he had to lose out. That team was getting promotion after promotion and finally played
mm.
Champions League last year or something. So he built that team up. I think he's really high level coach, and he's come here. He's won the league also now, full of confidence. And if they get him the players that he wants to play his style of football, I think it will be an amazing season for Mohan Bagan. SG.
But SG, exactly. That's the main important thing. Shan, releasing Tiri, or Tiri rather leaving. I think that seems to be terming it right. And Slavko Damjanovic not being retained, who had quite an impact. I felt towards the end of the season was also
Second half.
quite a player at Chennai when he first came to India. I thought he was one of their mainstays last season or the season before rather. Do you see that as something with Hamel likely to be retained and Anwar Ali set to be signed?
If you see Juan, actually, if you see Juan has a team in his mind, and it was more or less certain in the first week of April that TD would be leaving Mount Bagan Super Giants. Slavko Damjanovic, I was really shocked. I was really shocked when I was told by one of the Mount Bagan officials that Juan is planning to leave him, and when I said it in my channel, also people also thought that this is very unlikely because the game he played especially in the second half when he came in and the impact which he had, I think he played out of the skin. I think if you see Hamel, who was not able to adjust at first few days, but somehow he was able to give that solidarity to the team at the back line after few games. So Juan has his thing. I think management backs him. What I've seen, Mr. Goenka and his team always backs him that they always trust their coach, and what Juan wants, they always go for that. I am not sure about Cummings to India has got any Juan has any role to play for that. I am not aware of it because he was against because in all Kolkata everybody say, where is your number 9? Huh? Where is your number 9? So right now this is what the only position which was left. You have won the championship. Then also after the finals, people were saying, where is your number 9? And me being a East Bengal supporter, I was like, bhai, what do you want more? Bhai, you have won everything, bhai. और मेरे को लंबा था अगर मेरे को ट्रॉफी मिल जाए आई विल द मोस्ट हैप्पीएस्ट पर्सन बट सी this is I understand but Mohun Bagan and Mumbai City FC they don't have much so they have to get in 2-3 players in a very crucial position. I think Mohun Bagan's reserve team, with all due respect to other teams, Mohun Bagan's reserve team is also capable to qualify for the top 6 according to me. In fact, Mumbai City FC also, some
You
ways.
should have seen the squad that Mohan Bagan sent to the Reliance Foundation Development League. 10 players were part of the ISL who played in that squad, who played in Navi Mumbai, who played foreign opposition. You had the players, Sumit Rathi, of course, we've
Nas,
spoken about,
Kian.
Kian Nasiri, Farid Ali Mola, all these
Almola.
boys, and all. Eng Bang and all these guys were part of that squad. So it's the squad depth, I think, is also something. But the other question arises, if we look at the way Mohan Bagan played last season, and if we look back the way Goa played under Juan Ferrando, I mean, it looked more like a Habas team than a Ferrando team, right? I mean, guys, don't you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not the way Juan wants to play football. I don't think this is the way. He was just forced to play it because he had all the players and he had to put them into a system where it worked, and that's what he did.
Correct.
And I don't know. Obviously, he went for huge money and huge opportunity that he had managed to win things also over there. But when you look at this, is the guy who benched the best pure striker that ISL has ever seen. Did not take him for the AFC Champions League. He said no, because I want my team to play a certain way. And for him to have gone completely in this direction, I'm pretty sure that's just something he had to do last season. Hopefully, now that he has a title on his back, he can demand more, saying, "Get the players that I want to play." One of the comments have said Slavko is not a ball playing defender. I'm sure Ferrando can get a better ball playing centre back from Spain, from all his travels and everything. So probably that's why they let go of the defenders. I think Thierry, probably about time that was a good time for both club and Thierry to take a break and maybe try something else also. So this year I'm really looking forward to it because I want to see the Mohan Bagan, which is the vision of Ferrando. And
But
if
but
I
how
see,
how do you do it? I mean, the thing is, if he gets the players that they're targeting, Anwar Ali seems to be set. You're
yeah,
trying Akash Mishra. Now I've got two. I mean, all of these are international players. On the other side, I already have Shubhashish Bose as my left back. I've had a very, very good Pritam Kotal towards the end of the season. I think Pritam Kotal was one of the reasons why this team won the title. Really, a captain's role that the boy played. So Ferrando has something defensively to really work around. No? That if
yeah,
all these players come in, to keep everybody happy will not be easy, right? I mean, I remember the situation with Amrinder and Arindam, where Arindam then left the club.
Yeah, it is going to be tough, but he has to do it if he wants to play to his vision. He has to figure it out. So maybe they'll move some along, because they don't need to have all of these people on the payroll. Also, I recently heard that John Johnson was getting paid up until maybe 2-3 years ago, and he
Yeah,
had left the club a long time ago. So these kind of decisions have to be sort of fine tuned and allowed
they
to play.
had they had 8 foreigners last season on their payroll.
Yeah, it's insane, right? What they're doing. So just cut some flab out, thin the
Sure.
squad, give him the players that he needs. Roshan is saying Sergio Ramos is on the market. Sure, why not? Go and get him also. If Saudi is not interested, so go and get him.
Crazy one, crazy one. Rahul, your take?
I
Mohan
think,
Bagan?
yeah, last time out, like everyone's mentioned, probably not the style that he wanted to play. Did see a lot of balls hit straight directly into the striker, and I think Petros really carried that side. He scored some brilliant goals from outside the box. Also, I remember he scored a couple of rockets, and he carried that side. Now probably is the time to implement the coach's style of play and get guys who will play with the ball and move the ball nicely, smoothly, and kind of mimic what the Mumbai City team has done over these last 2-3 seasons, and yeah, carry on from there.
But are these Aussies really your Spanish style footballers, be it Petratos, be it Cummings? Because to me, what I've seen of them, they seem to be more direct. Huh? There's more direct play. Um, of course, you can use Hugo Bumus for this. He's that kind of player. He used to play it under Lobera or played it under Lobera. Um, how does Juan sort of settle this again? Also looking at the potential, you're trying to bring in Anirudh Thapa to strengthen that midfield where there is no clarity. Huh? You've played around. You had Glenn Martins, Lenny Rodriguez, Putia is there. How do you sort it out? Liston Colasio needs to get back to where he was a season back. He didn't have the best of seasons, so you've got, it's not clear if Manvir will be kept. Ishan Pandita has been linked also with the club, so there's,
Yes,
so
yes.
the who's of Indian football is being linked with Mohun Bagan SG.
Yeah. Again, I think if you want, you can play with one guy who's probably just that direct, like give me the ball and I'm going to take a shot. And if those Aussies are the strikers in this side, it's okay because the rest of the side is doing the job that the coach wants, which is playing out of midfield, playing out of tight spaces, get it wide. And then you allow guys like Listen Colasso, Manvi, like whoever is playing on the flanks to take on defenders and probably put the ball into the box for these guys to feed on. And that will be perfect for any side.
So someone a little bit of a winking comment. Roshan GK says Sergio Ramos is on the market.
Yeah.
Wink. Yeah, most probably the perfect player to come in and replace Tiri in that backline, most probably. But again, it's insane the players that Mohun Bagan already have, and they're looking to sign. And again, they could easily fill the national team first 11 with their squad, right?
Yes,
Shan?
yes, yes. I was very surprised when Ishan's deal was discussed, and when Ishan was trying to move. I think he left Jamshedpur FC because he wanted some game time. So he coming to Mohun Bagan Super Giant. I doubt how much, because what I've heard from Kolkata and in Kolkata media and people who are very close to the club is that they have a plan that if they get in Ishan Pandita, they plan to leave Manvir Singh. They have this plan. If this works that way, they will work in that way. But then also, I would say for a player like Ishan Pandita, which I was saying previously also, that you need to give some time. It's very very important. Our Indian upcoming players need some time with the club. They should not fall prey to money. It's very very important. If he has an offer with Kerala Blasters or if he has an offer with any other club, I think he should consider that before in terms of going to Mohun Bagan, because what I think as a player he will not get that time to match game time, which is very very important for him to evolve as a footballer. What I feel. So
I mean, Ishan Pandita
every
is a little bit of a mystery, right? He scored that 5 goals. From everything I've heard from all the coaches and things that I've heard talk spoken to, he's a good finisher. I don't think there is much denying the fact that he is a good finisher. But everything else is not probably at the level of his finishing. So we saw him start, come score what, 5 goals he scored off the bench, late goals, big goals for Goa.
In the last
But
10 minutes, all of them, last
yeah,
10
all
minutes.
of them. He will be eating an apple and then coming and scoring that goal. Right? So, but then they tried to start him. It didn't work. So they actually got Devendra to play in that role. Then with Goa, I'm sure was happy to get 90 lakhs or whatever it was from Jamshedpur
Yeah.
for the player, and they sold him. And when you went there with so much money, you would think, okay, the coach is going to give you a chance to prove yourself and get the goals, be the player that we expect you to be. It didn't work there also. National team as well, he's there, but I don't know how much he has actually done when he's played. So I think he's a little overrated in that sense. I know it's a very horrible thing to say, but I feel like it's a little overrated in those aspects. But he can be that player to get you that goal, because in and around the box he is still very very sharp finisher. Probably one of the better ones that who are playing in the Indian league right now as a pure finisher. But that's something that I heard from multiple coaches in Goa as well. That he can finish. He's got that calm kind of mentality right in front of goal. He doesn't get faced by everything. But the rest of the game, if you can play everything around him and just feed him in the last minute, I think it'll be a fantastic signing for any club.
I think it's another kind of player where coaches have a problem of where to really place him. Again, you can put him up front, but then you're sort of playing with 10 players. I sometimes also feel that what I've heard from certain people, coaches as well, talking about the same topic about player we talked earlier about Sahal, with the technical abilities that the boy has, but due to the lack of organized coaching in his youth, sometimes his sort of positioning and his sense of playing in a system is not really there. And that's I think sometimes the challenge. Again, Ishan has gone through a lot of football school training, minimal game time, but has that knack. I remember, the last player to really be on that level of knowing always where the goal is actually Baichung Bhutia. Baichung Bhutia is someone you might not see for 89 minutes, but then the ball comes to him, and Bhutia would ensure that the ball is in the net. And that is a special quality. But again, how do you use him in a team which really wants to use build-up play? And therefore, I'm a little surprised that for all that Manveer Singh has done over the last few years, I think he does also not get the credit that the boys should get for someone. I think it was 2017. I think he won the Santosh Trophy for Bengal, if I'm not wrong. He was at
Correct.
Mohammedan Sporting at the time. And the way that he's come up, because I thought at the time, he was a lanky boy, and his first touch looked not that good, to be very honest. And he's come a long way in these last 5-6 years. So I don't understand that. If you Ishan Pandita to me is not a winger. Ishan Pandita is an out and out striker to me, and therefore I don't know. I don't get this. I don't know what you guys think, that if you would replace Ishan Pandita, replace Manveer Singh with Ishan Pandita.
No, bring him
I
off.
know.
Last 5 minutes, get the goal. That's pretty much that. And there is something to be said for that also, right?
Yeah.
To have that skill, where in India you can't find a striker. Here's this guy who's scoring a lot of goals in very limited time. Which also brings me to something that I want to ask. Irfan Yadwad, I think I'm not hearing anything about any club being interested in him. Is there any updates that you heard?
I've heard
But
that
he's
two
out of
ISL.
contract.
Huh?
He's out of contract now
Yeah,
this
I
year.
think it's the first question is, what is FC Bangalore United going to do with themselves? I think they're not very clear if they're going to jump to the I League or maybe stay in the second division. So I think that's for them to decide. I think they want to. They were very unlucky, I feel, in the way that how the second division this year, I think, was very, very close. I think multiple teams had the chance to get promoted. Even United Sports, who finished bottom of the five team table. But that is a kind of a striker who has the little that I've seen of him had impressed me a lot, because he had that sort of knack of finishing, and finishing against not bad teams but decent teams. So that's, but the question is it the right jump to really try and jump from the second division to the ISL? I always see examples of Joby Justin was mentioned. Bidyananda is another one who has sort of fizzled out of the last 2 years, be it at BFC, be it at Kerala Blasters, but be it to some extent at East Bengal, but especially at Trau. That boy has shown that he can finish. So that's the question of those players, and I feel there's been been talking a lot of players in this transfer update today, that there's a lot of interswitching between clubs and players in the ISL, but we've got very few players, the star players of the I League really making the jump. Where are the Rosenberg, Gabriels? Where is Dinesh and all these guys, especially Srinidhi, who didn't get promoted? Round Glass are trying to hang on to their players. I'll come to one or two players that Round Glass have signed. They've been able to sign Nitesh Darji from Sudeva Delhi, I've been told, and which I find an interesting one as a left back. So Round Glasses are also in the market trying to sign players and trying to strengthen. Even though I thought that Round Glass Super Cup, they didn't do too badly. With a little bit of more luck, them or Srinidhi actually could have won that group. So therefore, we're in an interesting scenario. And jumping from Mohun Bagan, we've talked a lot about them, and we've been talking for over 1 hour and 40 minutes. One of the most exciting projects in Indian football in the new season will be in a state which is at the moment mourning due to the train accident, and that is Odisha FC. Where another compliment has to be given to the Odisha government with all the support that they're giving to sports in general, especially football and hockey, but in general. But Sergio Lobera, what a coup, huh, Sandeep?
Yeah, it seems. I don't know. It seems like they should be going forward, right? They are all this momentum that they have. They won the league. They won the Super Cup. Clifford had a fantastic run as a manager. Now you
Would you
have Sergio.
before you continue, would you have gambled and said, listen guys, Clifford Miranda, you're doing so well,
I
the
would have.
team seems to gel? Would you have given him a chance?
I would have, just to see, because there's nothing much to lose, right? Because he's already won you a cup.
No, but I also
There's
asked Shayan and Rahul quick answers, and then Sandeep can continue. Would you have given Clifford Miranda a chance as head coach after winning the Super Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he did too badly in the Super Cup, and I think he did enough to get a year in the ISL.
Shan?
Mm. I would differ in this case. I would always say that Clifford did reasonably well. He won you the champion Super Cup for Odisha FC, but the team was basically built by Joseph Gambo's team. Actually, it's very difficult to judge a coach in a single tournament, and he did pretty well. And if you have to have that AFC Cup vision, to win the AFC Cup, they will be playing in the AFC Cup. I would always try that they do well in AFC Cup. So that is the far-sightedness that management took, and they got in Sergio Lovera, I think, who has been one of the most successful coaches in Indian football circuit, in ISL especially. So getting in Sergio Lovera, I think it's a better. I think it's a better move than to keep Clifford Miranda. I have no disrespect to any Indian coaches, but what I feel is that Lovera has much more to offer in the table, I think.
Sandeep?
Yeah, I mean, you can't criticize Lobera, right? He's won
Yeah.
2 shields and 1 cup. So they are trying to get the best, at least in terms of silverware coach, most successful coach, at least recently in the ISL, I think.
Are they pushing too much in a too
I
short span of time?
that's where I feel a little bit of a disconnect with the team because they were in a good situation, and I've heard also from FC Goa and Odisha and others like Clifford is one of the best young coaches we have in terms of the way you speak to the media, his tactics, and his vision of football, how he interacts with the players, and all those things. He ticks a lot of boxes. So in that way, I would have loved to see him have one shot or clean. We saw Khalid have one shot, so it will be nice to see Clifford also get one and see how that goes. But in the same time, they are also changing a lot. Like Nanda, best player last season or one of the best players, they are letting him go. I think Saul Crespo is gone. Rainier, okay, fine. Ralro Tara again, okay, and now they are getting in the players that Lobera is used to. Murtada Fall. I don't know how much Murtada Fall is going to be influential this year. He's not the same player that we saw a few years ago. Maybe he can rediscover it in this team. Jahu is also there. I wouldn't be surprised if Mandar also sort of heads in that direction at some point. So they
Don't
are
don't
side.
break don't break Shayan's heart. Huh? Shayan is still hoping Mandar will sign for East Bengal. Huh?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
hoping. I'm not hoping. He will sign for East Bengal, and
yes,
this
yes,
Okay,
battle
yes.
they
okay.
will
We
win.
will we will speak later. There's a big battle now after this whole Lobera incidents. Sort of that Lobera was already unofficially
Yeah.
announced as East Bengal coach. There's this huge battle now, unofficial battle between East Bengal and Odisha FC. So Odisha FC can brace themselves, especially Lobera, for the visit to Kolkata. So yeah, but yeah, sorry, you were talking about the players that
Yeah, so
he's
I
worked with.
wonder how much he can take that team forward because Lovera also seems to be starting rivalries. He went to Mumbai, Goa and Mumbai don't get along. Now he's gone to Odisha or taken 2 of Mumbai's players. I'm sure they're not too happy, but probably Mumbai, they don't care that much also.
I think
And
Mumbai is
East
quite
Bengal,
happy because I think Mumbai, in the sense of, I think Murtada Fall would have been a hard issue in the summer
yeah.
if you were supposed to sort of in a situation, okay, your captain, do you extend? Can't you extend? But actually, do you want to extend with Rogerson Griffiths? Ahmed Jahu, I think they got the best out of Ahmed Jahu in the last two,
Mm.
3 years. I think the question is he's not getting younger as well. I think that's also a factor. So I think for them it's wise. The question is with Odisha, what they had and what they had could build on. I'm sad to see Nanda leave. They have another player who I feel might do well to do a transfer.
Jerry?
Is Jerry. I
Mm.
feel Jerry is sort of one of those forgotten talents of Indian football. He was the Tom and Jerry with Changte a few years back at DSK Shivajians. Before they sort of parted, went to Northeast United jointly on loan, and then sort of parted ways, and both went different directions. So the question there is now is Odisha, are the expectations, because Lobera is now expected in a different way, but similar to also what East Bengal fans are expecting of Carlos Kudrat. You're bringing in a former champion coach. So are Odisha, and they've won the Super Cup, is Odisha now gunning or hoping that they can also bring in other players, also with Lobera coming to the club to challenge the title?
Do you think last season what Odisha did with the players that they had, they maximized a lot of them, I would think, right? Like Nanda had
Yeah.
one of the seasons of his life and things like that. Do you think they can repeat it this year? Like to get that kind of performance? Diego Mauricio is a very strange case, right? He's purely a goal scorer. He is going to get you those goals. But at the same time, before nobody wanted to keep him. Like, the clubs were okay letting him move
Mm.
on. They were like, okay, he will score goals, but there might be better. I don't know. He's one of those guys who's not really appreciated, but obviously he's found a home
Correct.
in Odisha. Uh, Hopefully he can kick on as well next season. But there's something of I feel personally, and this is based just on my gut feeling and nothing else. No additional information that I've received or anything. Is that there is some sort of disconnect from what happened this year and what is going to happen next year in the manner which they are moving forward. Maybe these were decisions that were made before the Super Cup final also, so that might have colored our opinion of the team. But it just seems like there is some sort of disconnect. And Sayan, I think you got a better deal getting Carles rather than Lovera, because Lovera wants to play a certain way. He will not change this way of thinking and anything. And if you don't get him the players that he needs to play that way, it will be a disaster. So I don't know if East Bengal can get him all those players, but Carles will work with what he has.
Yes. Yes. I think that's better, right? Better now.
And I think that's the challenge, huh? Rahul, Odisha, any expectations?
I actually am going the other way. My gut, again, purely gut feeling is that Odisha will become a mainstay top four club in 2 3 years. I don't know why, but I feel like there's a real professional sense to Odisha right now. Everything that they do, the way they handle their social media, the women's team now bringing in Sergio Lobera,
Mm.
they won the Super Cup. They had an okayish league season, but it just feels like they're going in the right way. I don't know, every step that they're taking and everything that I see around Odisha just gives me that gut feeling that they're going to have a good season next time out. Maybe not challenge for the title, but I think Odisha will have a good, like a fourth or fifth finish in the league and probably not make it to the finals. But yeah, they'll have a good season in my opinion.
But that is then you say it's a good season, but if Odisha finish fourth or fifth, I think for them it's a bad season.
Right. Right.
With
I, again,
the
like,
hype,
yeah.
that they're creating, I feel, and I tend to go Sandeep's way, where I feel is Odisha had taken sort of a pathway of developing players, giving them opportunities, but now they'll have to go for the big juggernaut, right? And again, they call it the juggernauts, but they'll have to go for the big jugglery sort of. And that's going to be the challenge, especially with Mumbai City and Mohun Bagan SG being in this league, and they are like the two big sort of entities, which sort of immovable assets, which is becoming tougher and tougher to beat. So I'm really interested to see how Odisha can challenge, how they go about their pathway. Rahul, you've said it very well that they've done a lot of things right. I follow their social media. It's an interesting way how they do it. It's different than the others. I think there's some people who most probably will not like it, but again, it's their style, it's their way of doing it. The women's team has been a very, very positive. Not only signing Baladevi, bringing in Cynthia, the first Brazilian to play in the IWL, and all those things. So they've done a lot of things right. But the question to me is, are you leaving the path of developing talent and rather paying a lot of money for proven talent? And I know from people at Mumbai City, Sandeep has said it, Lobera is a very, very demanding coach. I mean, most probably one of the most demanding, if not the most demanding coach that there will be next season in the ISL. And if Odisha as a club and if the players can't deliver, that can turn around in a bad way quite quickly. So that risk is there, and I think, as Sandeep said, I think for East Bengal would have never been able to put a team together to please Lobera, to do what is needed. So therefore, most probably, Carlos, yeah, in let's see where they really handle this. So therefore, Disha is an interesting project to watch, and it was interesting in the last few days also to see Rohan Sharma having a few Twitter fights with with East Bengal fans, or what Odisha stands for with Obera and all that stuff. It's an interesting path to see. I mean, we've seen Parth Jindal as well, Akshay Tandon as well. Good to see those owners sort of trying to defend their clubs, stand for positions. If they're all right again, that's a different discussion, but that's good to see. Continue. We still have some clubs to do. Hyderabad, again, little to nothing, I'm hearing. I don't know what about you guys. It's about
Mm.
rather who's leaving than rather who's staying. Any incomings, anything regarding? I mean, the guy they wanted to sign as a coach doesn't have a license, so that seems to be, or the right license. That seems to be a problem. Where do we stand? Hyderabad FC, the team that Manolo Marquez has taken from the bottom of the league to the top of the league.
I don't know anything about incomings, but I think they are quite happy with I think it is the right time to part ways with Manolo. I don't think the club is too upset that he is gone, and I also think they are internally. I know they are looking at sort of rebuilding, because it seems like that one cycle is coming to an end. Narzari is on his way out. I think I heard Bangalore FC may have signed him.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
Nazari and Rohit Dano is what I had
yeah.
heard are
Good.
going to BFC. Yeah, Yasir is someone that has been linked in Kolkata to both
But I heard
ETB.
Yasser is going
Sorry,
to stay.
that is what
Yeah.
Shayan, I think you said last week as well, right? So that's another one. I heard Sana was someone potentially who might leave, but again, I think Sana now has to take care more about family matters
Family.
than football. Heard, they're losing Borja Herrera and Severio to East Bengal. I'm not sure about the Obeche situation. I heard that Obeche could be leaving and could be
He will
heading
be
back.
leaving. What I've
Yeah,
heard
that
that he will
Ode
be
is
leaving.
also gone. Ode is also on his way out, I think.
Ode is going
He
somewhere else.
yes.
Yeah, as well.
Maybe
Um,
Goa,
They've got
I heard something.
only one
yeah,
foreigner is staying back. One of their foreigners is staying back. I exactly don't know the name.
Joao Victor has a contract. I think, if I'm not
Uh,
wrong, he had extended his
uh,
contract.
I
I don't
think
think they're too upset about losing Severio and all, because they tried him as a first striker. It didn't really work out. Although he is capable of scoring one or two, he's probably not the best to lead the line. From everything I've heard from in and around the club is that they are very happy with where they are. They are looking to rebuild. Everything depends on the coach that they sign, whether they'll have a good season or a bad season. But internally, they are quite okay with the players that are leaving. Maybe they would have liked to hold on to Danu, but again, Danu, a lot was expected of him this season. Didn't really work out also. So overall, they are very comfortable where they are, and I think fundamentally that's the most important. And we'll see what bits and pieces they can add. Foreigners obviously is a main thing. Kenisi is going to be there, or he's gone.
Kinesi, I heard, is going back to Australia at the moment. That what I've heard, again, and it might change. But again, it's also interesting to see how Hyderabad are able to generate revenue of the transfers. Again, Akash Mishra could be the highest ever grossing transfer in Indian football. So as well, and again, Thankpoy Singto is most likely to take up a key role within the first team as well. What I'm hearing, so that's a good step. Thangboy has done quite well at that club as well. So Hyderabad again, total revamp, total rebuild. It looks like in the summer. Yeah, Northeast United. I think the biggest management transfer so far of the summer. Someone who is in Bangalore, a legend, and I always say dear friend as well, Mandar Tamane joining
Yeah,
Northeast United. A coup for John Abram.
yeah. Like Mandar is a great guy. He is very savvy with what he does. So I think that's probably the best move in terms of a TD that they could have had. But now the question is how do they build the team, right? Like I don't know much about this coach Juan Pedro Benali, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Uh, his CV looks a little TD, this thing, that thing. So I'm not really sure what sort of football he's going to play.
it's
Mandar
it's
obviously.
it's a little like a Manolo Marquez CV. Again, Manolo
Hmm.
Marquez's CV was not the best when he came to India, to be very honest.
Yeah. So Musa has gone there. Someone
Musad
Mandar
Muslim.
has worked a
Yes.
long time with, much before their association is longer than the BFC connection that they have.
Exactly, it goes back to Pune. Huh?
Yeah, so all that is working in their favor. Now, the interesting thing I want to say is 10 years ago, Mandar built a team at BFC, which was at least in the first season, you can say, was built on a budget, not to win the league, but they managed to sort of get the best out of the whole situation. Right? A lot of credit obviously goes to Pradyam, to Ashley, to the team itself. He will have to do some similar magic like that here to get the best out, because Northeast
Mm.
United historically has hardly played well. I think one season they qualified under Khalid. They qualified for the top four. I mean the
Don't
semi-final.
Sandeep, don't you think he'll have to do even more magic than at BFC, because at BFC at least the funds were
Absolutely,
insured?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I have to give credit to Shatori also. They reached
Yeah,
Mm.
once in the
yeah, exactly.
semi-final.
They've had two semi-finals.
Twice,
Yeah,
twice,
Yeah.
twice.
yeah, yeah.
So he will have to do crazy magic because first of all the budget has gone like 10 years ago. What it was that he paid for Sunil Chhetri, he'll have to pay a lot more for somebody else now because the budget has gone through the roof, and we know that Northeast United is does not have a very big budget, and they try to get a good bargain deal wherever possible. So like that that team is very interesting. That team is going to be very interesting just because of how they are going to deal with the whole thing. Mandar has an absolute crazy amount of work on his hand to get the best out of the situation that he's in. For a minute, I think he might have gone to East Bengal, really, honestly. With Carles also being there, I thought, oh, that was probably the right fit. But he's gone to Northeast United, and the one other thing for them is there's generally no expectation of Northeast United, so he might be able to deliver a lot, right? But like whatever expectation they'll have this season is because Mandar and Musa are there.
Correct.
So
And I think they will try and maybe get some of the BFC Colts, the youngsters who are part of the BFC B team, maybe who Naushad knows very very well, to try
hmm,
and maybe sign for Northeast United. I think Mandar has said in his statement when he was signed that he's looking to see, the talent from the Northeast, whatever is available. So I think they're gonna do a proper scouting of the players at Aizol, at Neroka, at Trau, at Lajong, and maybe try and unearth the next generation of Northeastern talent. But again, interesting
again,
move. Yeah,
two areas the two of them are very well versed in. Both Musa and Mandar often go every year with the BFC for scouting purposes to these parts, Mizoram, Manipur, and all the rest of it. So they are quite well versed in that part. They have managed to get some big players out. Musa is sort of developed, like Shiv Shakti has come through. You have the Roshan as a wing back. I saw Roshan as a winger. He's turned
yeah.
himself into a wing back. So they have managed to do a lot of good things in BFC, but there was a lot of things structured around the club which allowed them to do that. I'm not very sure how much of that structure is available in Northeast. They might have to build it themselves.
They have to build it.
So
I mean, I
yeah.
had recently the chance to interview for Candid Football Conversations Floyd Pinto, and Floyd Pinto says the first hope is to see Mandar build the structure of the club, and I think that's the main thing. Structure, get a little trust also from the fans in Guwahati, in Assam, from the Highlanders Brigade, and all these other people who have sort of a little bit given up on the club, because again they failed more often than they've succeeded in these 9 years of existence. And I think for the Indian Super League, for Indian football, a good quality Northeast United would be a value add. I think Mandar brings a lot of class to that. But again, it's a different challenge. It's different than it was BFC. But again, I also say that both Mandar and Naushad Musa have a lot more knowledge than they had a decade back. So I think that might help them as well. So best wishes for them and for Northeast United. Shayan, looking at Northeast.
I think Mandar Rao, Mandar Tamane. I think he did I think he took a I think wise decision to move to Northeast United. If you ask me, because again he was looking. I think if he is able to make a turnaround of Northeast United, I think that would add to his CV. Highly illustrious CV he has. I think he has been very successful in Bengaluru FC, and he being in the part of now Northeast United, I am expecting that they would get in. I think getting in Mandar Tamane, I think Northeast United also is having a plan for next 2 3 years. They want to build a team. And what I make out, I think Nosad Musa joining him is again a good VFC reunion, and I really hope that the place like Northeast has got huge potential in terms of fan base, in terms of the talent, the local talent, which we miss now in many parts of India. There is no dearth of talent over there, and if they are able to replicate the same process which what they were able to replicate in Bengaluru, I think Northeast United can be one of the club to look after at least in next 2 3 in the next season. I think they would be in a better position. I am very sure that this partnership would yield good result for Northeast United, because this is the time they, I think, if they are able to get in good quality foreigners and with the local talent which they have, and with the proper planning, who knows, Northeast United can be also one of the surprise package of this ISL season. You never know what happens in football. By the way,
Historically, they have got good foreigners in. No?
Yeah.
Ogbeche came to ISL. That Uruguayan midfielder, forgot his
Who
name.
was it at Moonbagan? What's his name? Federico Gallego.
Federico Gallego. So
Gallego.
yeah, so they have done those things. Dylan Fox. So they do get good foreigners in, and like you mentioned, Mandar should be just over 4 years because he has to
Yes.
build that team. So I think I don't know about the long term vision of that club per se, but I think that is most important over there.
I think that's the key, right? Rahul, what's the mood as a BFC fan? I mean, Manda left in the middle of the season. Things were not looking good. Suddenly, Darren Caldera comes. Suddenly, there is this incredible unbeaten run. What do you feel seeing Mandar going to another ISL entity?
Again, like, to be honest, I have not. I mean, as a kid growing up, we didn't hear too much about what is happening behind the scenes. We're obviously looking at what is happening on the pitch, the coach, these guys you're associated with. But then, when you grow up, people tell you that okay, there were these guys who did a great job back then. For whatever I've heard about Mandar, I hope he does well. I think it's for any BFC fan. For every BSC fan, when it comes to a player, coach, anybody who's a part of the staff management, you just want them to go to the places they go to and do well, and that's pretty much it. We just hope he does well, and for Northeast at least, I think for any club that hasn't been doing well, the next step should always be to okay, let's get a little higher. Let's not aim too far. Let's have a long-term structure in place. 2-3 years. Give these guys time. Make sure you finish seventh, eighth, and then you can explore things and see what went wrong and build on that.
I
That's the
think a lot
challenge.
of
Yeah.
there's unfortunately what happened last year is Mandar after Mandar left is when BFC started making the run. But those are the players that he signed, or rather, he was the one there. It just clicked at that period in time, and
It
I
clicked.
just
It clicked 1 week too late.
yeah, I felt I was like I messaged him before the final. I said, "Congratulations, this is your team. They've done well. They've reached the final again. So maybe what Darren and Roca built is brought is some magic dust that they put on. But that team was built by Mandar, so I think a lot of credit has to go to him, which he'll never get. But I think at least from us,
That's
we get
football,
enough.
sadly, right? So we
Yeah,
know that, and then those who really stay informed and know the how football really operates and works. I think there's a lot of these guys who are unknown to the general fans who do a lot of the works. I've said it on Shine's channel that for example, someone who used to work with me at IndianFootball.com, who I had given a first chance, Sujay Sharma, who I regard as one of the best brains in Indian football. How many Indian football fans would know Sujay Sharma, right? So therefore, those guys do their work and try the best. The
Sure.
people from Mr. Goenka who've been running Athletic the Kolkata ETK Mohun Bagan SG. Very few people, very few fans know. So therefore, these kind of guys are there, and maybe we can feature them here on Candid Football Conversations as well. Before we come to Round Glass Punjab, guys, do subscribe to Sports Khabri and to Arun Foot. I haven't said it, but also you guys, Sandeep and Shan, plug in your respective platforms. Sandeep, you do a podcast if you want to
yeah. So
mention it.
injury time. Yeah. So yeah, we try to do as much as often as possible. I can't say on these days it come, but we generally try to do it weekly. Some interviews, some discussions and stuff like that. So if you want to hear some really hard hitting stuff, probably injury time is a place.
Yes, honest discussions and also sometimes controversial as well, right? So
Yeah.
which others try to avoid. And Shayan, Bengali mainly. I prank your channel's name, but again, I because you are. Please go ahead.
Okay, okay. Acha, everybody, actually, my channel's name is Indian Food and Football. The story behind this is something different. I know Uddamada would be able to say this better, but we generally we do a daily content about Indian football, East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, Indian football as a whole. See, we have done English. Our program is basically on Bengali and English. If you see majorly Bengali, but English contents are also provided because the guests, some of the guests who have been part of this show, have always been with English coaches or people who doesn't know Bengali. Then only we do show in English. So it's a channel basically which aims to discuss more about Indian national team. I think which is the most important thing about in football. And Onauda would be knowing that when Onauda had this platform of 2006 India playing for the World Cup, I was one of the school boys who used to go through that go to that platform and see that we have one day we will qualify for 2006. But now currently when I've grown old now in 2023, and yesterday night also we were
Let's not
discussing.
Chris Ponakatu, Daniel, and I are still ashamed that in 1999 we started a section called India's Passage to Germany on IndianFootball.com. You know, that was the one of the first actual category we created on that website. So you think two boys, actually three. Daniel Ponatu was there as well. Three boys of Indian origin sitting in Germany, hoping India will come to Germany in 2006 to play the World Cup. Yeah, those were the days. Sadly, we are further away today than we were in 1999. So that's also a reality as well, sadly. But again, not to deviate from the topic. Otherwise, we'll totally lose it.
Onoda, I
Please.
think Kumar is saying something. Kumar Reddy saying, Shayon, do you remember me? I remember you. You are one of those people who always, when I talk in Bengali, he says me, brother, can you talk in English, please? So he's going.
Yeah. So there's
So
it's
I
actually
remember.
quite a community in Kolkata, and especially amongst East Bengal fans. I think there's a lot of wishful positive thinking that East Bengal can finally turn it around, and Shayan is one of those guys who sort of cater to those discussions which are ongoing in Kolkata. So hopefully, that East Bengal can have a better season and not think about 11th, 10th, ninth, or even 12th this year. And when we talk about 12th, we come to a former team that I used to work for when it was an academy team, which is Round Glass Punjab. Great to see that the vision that Sunny Singh had for this entity when it was started as an academy in 2017-18 and took over the license of Minerva going up. Had a great season in the I League, especially Luka Machin and Juan Mera, ex East Bengal, na Shayan, Juan Mera, getting into the ISL. Guys, what's your expectations potentially from Punjab FC, as they'll most likely be called in the ISL due to no sponsor prefixes allowed over there?
Punjab FC playing from Delhi, huh? Or
Yeah,
Ahmedabad.
likely Delhi. But again,
Likely
otherwise they would
Delhi.
have played from Panchkula, which would have been Haryana. So again, there's a a misleading bottle, so to say, which is sort of the genius from somewhere else. But again, I think good to see them. But again, what's your hope? What's your expectation? Again, they are working very quietly at the moment. They've done a few signings, retained some of the few players. Have had three boys on loan from Mumbai City as well. There's some talks on that going on. What's your potential expectations? They're trying to retain some of their foreigners as well, who they think can make the jump to the I League as well. So
I
the
think for
ISL.
them, I think for them the most important thing is to hold on to the squad that they have that was successful last year, because they had a tough race with Srinidhi until Srinidhi at the last sort of had some really bizarre result at Mohammedan. I think that
The last
was,
3-4 results, Srinidhi
yeah, it
really
just,
dropped off in the last 3-4 games. They were actually,
yeah.
it looked like that Srinidhi would win it,
Yeah,
and then they sort of dropped off.
so I thought David Castaneda was one of those players who could potentially move up also, but I think he's signed a new contract
Yeah,
at
he's staying
Srinidhi.
at Srinidhi. Yeah.
But these guys, they'll have to hold on to their players. I personally am not a fan of a team playing from somewhere else, because I feel like you lose that local connect. They are Punjab FC. They are going to play in Delhi. Okay, all things considered, it'll be better than Bangalore playing in Pune in terms of travel and distance and all that. But nevertheless, I think that is a problem. I did interview Sunny Singh for injury time last season, and I felt while in conversation that he was a little non-committal about ISL. He's like, we will get there, we will see, we are focusing on this and all those things. And to be fair, even I don't think even now ISL has said a word, but everything is done. Like, I know that AFF has had the discussion and the promotion and all is sorted, but
No, Sandeep, if you want to get into that discussion, that's a very tricky one because they've
yeah,
passed the AFF licensing criteria, but
yeah,
the ISL has their own set of criterias, which is again why, for example, Panchkula does not qualify as a home venue, which I find very interesting in this whole sort of discussions that are going on and where can a team play or not play. I think that they lose something. Again, they, you know, Delhi is, as I've traveled a number of times by car or by plane, is 240 kilometers away from the Chandigarh city region, so to say, with Panchkula, Chandigarh, and Mohali. I think they lose something of that. They were building some little bit of traction. They had started to build some traction in the Chandigarh region. Chandigarh doesn't have a football specific stadium of the quality that is needed. Mohali doesn't have as well. So that's been sort of the problem that Round Glass has. And as you say, Sunny is more sort of, if it happens this year, fine, I can wait another year or two. I'm fine with that. Let's try and build the club. And that way, and Round Glass is in that situation where they are. But again, I think it's good that North India in some sort of formal way will be represented again after Delhi Dynamos left the capital and moved to Odisha. So from that perspective, I think it's a good thing. But the question is, what can the team do? Can an I League team which is strengthened by ISL players compete in this league? We'll see that test, so to say, because again, Round Glass and Trinity to me looked like, again, they most probably could have competed in the ISL last season.
yeah, I agree. They're a good team. I don't think they'll challenge for the top four,
No,
but a mid-table finish could be possible for them. And I'm sure they'll strengthen. And also, Sunny Singh and Round Glass in general are investing in other sports and hockey as well in that region. So they are trying to have a holistic sort of a
tennis as
situation
well.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they're trying to build something. I thought they might be able to play out of Ludhiana, but I guess that was a pipe
there
dream
is
more
no
than anything.
at Round Glass. There's no fascination regarding Ludhiana. They see that Delhi rather makes more sense than Ludhiana.
Mm.
Ludhiana is as far away from Chandigarh as Delhi is, and there's no connect to that northern sort of Punjab belt. It is all mainly around Chandigarh and Patiala, and the rural belt around Chandigarh, which is really that area where Round Glass as a franchise has sort of built itself in over the last few years. So that's sort of the angle, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think what Round Glass more than anything else, right? Keeping aside their performance, okay, let's say, in my opinion, they can challenge for a mid-table position. But keeping that away, what Round Glass is going to bring in, to this day, obviously, ISL has not said a word. They have not congratulated, welcomed the promotion team. None of those things have happened. Only Shaji has said that these guys have qualified and they have done this and that. But from internal discussions, I realized that ISL is sort of okay with it
yeah.
happening. But now, in a situation like this, next year when there is going to be another club promoted, let's say a club from Imphal comes, or let's say Shillong comes from Meghalaya, you will have to make some adjustments in terms of stadiums, because you cannot expect all these teams to come and play somewhere else. You can't ask these teams to also play out of Guwahati. So the challenge for ISL next year will be to ensure that these clubs can play in their home ground, and the challenge for these
Stadium,
clubs will
but
be
stadium is one
the
factor,
stadium.
right? That is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
danger,
exactly.
na?
They have
Yeah.
to, like, a lot of them will have to fix the new floodlights, and the floodlights for ISL is much higher because it's HD
Yeah,
over I League. So the expenses is a
SD,
lot
yeah.
more. So all those things have to be considered. So will Shillong, even if they win I League, want to go one position up, because logistically you have to pay so much more in terms of all the other things. Plus, a player obviously will have to pay more, get better quality foreigners and things like that also. So that is a major challenge that they are going to go into the future when the teams from I League start coming up. If it's a Srinidhi, they'll be fine because they can afford it. They have whatever they need to have. But if it's these other teams, even Gokulam, who does not have a stadium at the moment, they will have to,
Yeah.
even if they qualify next year, what are they going to do? They are not going to play in Manjeri. They can't play in this one. Can they go and play in Kochi? Then you're not really a Malabarian if you're going to play in Kochi, right? So ISL will have a lot of decisions to make, and the clubs moving up to the ISL will have a lot of questions and answers. And this year will be like a beta test for all of those things. Thankfully, they got Roundglass, who has enough money to facilitate all this. If this was Trau or something, that would have been
I think
really,
at the
really.
start of the season they were very worried when Real Kashmir was top of the league, right? I think that would have been, that would have been like SOS. I think something needs to happen in the I League because again, I think there are, which are great stories, with Real Kashmir in the I League, Aizol winning the I League, Neroka Trau playing in this league, Shillong Lajong coming back into this league. Lovely stories per se, but again, can they really play ISL where your budgets and everything else is like X times more than what you're spending? I mean, some of the ISL teams will now be spending more on one player than what some of these I League teams are spending on their whole squad and the whole operations of their clubs. So that's going to be the real challenge, I think, in this new season. And therefore, as you rightly said, Sandeep, I think with Roundglass Punjab moving up, I think Roundglass Punjab, Srinidhi, Gokulam Kerala, again, I think with the help of the ISL would have most probably fixed something. I don't know, but they have the budgets as well. I think the Kolkata fans will not be happy to hear it, but I think they were hoping not that Mohammedan Sporting qualifies, so they suddenly have three teams from one city. They've been trying to do one city or one state, one team, which rule they've broken now, of course, with East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. So therefore, there's a lot of issues for the ISL to look forward to. But again, as I said, Punjab FC, Roundglass Punjab FC are still sort of in the initial phase of their sort of transfer activities. So even though we've called this a transfer update show, of course, we've talked a little bit more generally about things. Rahul, Shayan, you guys as well, Punjab FC, how much do you look forward to seeing the first I-League champions to play in the ISL?
I would say Punjab would do a pretty decent job. They have a very structured setup. I've seen their team in the Super Cup. I think they did pretty well. I think they were quite unlucky. I think they could have qualified from that group, and the team is really good. And if they're able to add 2-3 players, I hope that they can at least go in the middle of the table. This team will be not a pushover for other clubs, ISL clubs. I would say this would be not so easy for other ISL clubs to beat them, especially the teams who were from 7 to 11. For example, for a team like East Bengal, for a team like Northeast United, for a team like, for example, Jamshedpur, or for a team like Chennai, it will be not easy for them to defeat a side like Punjab FC. Because Punjab FC as a team, I think the quality of the side is pretty good, and I don't think they would be a pushover, and I think they will pull up some surprises in the first season itself. I can assure you that this will happen.
Rahul?
Yeah, I think on the same side as Shine, because uh, not only the mid-table sides in the ISL, BFC have learned that it was not easy to play a Srinidhi Deccan or a Roundglass in the Super Cup. Both sides came, I mean, gave them a pretty good fight. And Srinidhi, I think, are the better of the two sides, but still, Roundglass will not be easy at all by any means for not only the mid-table sides in the ISL, but also the top three, four. And yeah, it'll be exciting to see what the first promotional team can do in the ISL next year.
We've spoken 2 hours 22 minutes. Yeah, so this is much longer. First of all, thanks Sandeep and Shine for hanging out for so long. It became more of a chat amongst friends to talk about football, and that's the way I wanted. I think some of you guys might have thought, okay, we've not talked too much on the specific transfers. We spoke a little bit more generic. Maybe we'll do a little bit more specific transfer updates once they start trickling in really with the confirmations, which will start happening more and more in the next few days. Again, Sandeep, Shayan, thanks a lot for your time. Great insights, great inputs. Rahul, it was great fun to co-host this with you. Do follow Sports Covery. Do follow Arun Foot. Do also follow the respective podcasts, Injury Time, and as well as Indian Food and Football. And we'll be back soon with more candid football conversations. Let's talk about Indian football. Let's enjoy. And guys, thanks a lot once more. And I wish everybody good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.